Holy shit, how have we lasted this long? So, normal weekly normal weekly shit talk here. And, yes, I could hear you guys. Audience can't hear you, but I can. And I mainly keep them quiet so I can let all of you guys know what's going on. Big thing, actually, this week, you will actually notice a change to the slideshow. 35 years ago today, one of our panel members showed up to basic training.
Hi, everyone. 35 years ago today, I turned up at the Royal Air Force School of Recruit Training.
Wait, how many weeks of basic training? 6?
Great, anyway.
6.
Yeah. You'll have to...
And there I am.
All right, but with that, it's been another typical week here.
And that was just after I'd taken the Oath of Allegiance.
Jared, could you please present yourself?
Oh,
I'm on the back row at the right left-hand end of that one. And I'm number 2 man in the right-hand file.
I never liked those sweaters. Oh, they're so scratchy.
And that's what we had doing our fly past, which
this was before pixels.
No, there were pixels. It was just celluloid.
We had a sweater similar to that. We call it, but it had a V-neck. So.
Yeah, no, they were.
Yeah, I'm on the right in that photograph, by the way. On the right-hand side of the photograph, stood on the left.
I still have
Were
mine
you there?
somewhere. Come think of it.
Some of these pictures are probably easier to pick out where you are than others.
Well, I'll say that one, I'm on the back row on the left-hand end as we look at it. And...
Ooh.
That one,
Shiny.
I'm... The second guy in... Second guy in there, in that one.
Do you think I could steal that and try to convince someone that that's a UFO?
Come on, that's 4 engines of sex right there.
And that was the aircraft that did the fly past at about 200 feet. One of them going over at 200 feet at full throttle is...
Is that a Vulcan?
That was a Vulcan.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Third from the left, back row.
Well, and then you taking the oath at that point. But yeah, it's always fun to enjoy one of those anniversaries. It was actually 10 years ago and 1 month tomorrow is when I officially left active duty.
Yeah, well, I'll say 35 years ago, Thursday was when I joined up on the 1st of November, and then I left on the 31st of October, 92. So that's 24 years ago.
Yeah, and for reference for some people out there, when he showed up to basic training, I was not even 2 weeks old.
Yeah, you're a kiddie. But was that a... were those boats holding M1s?
No.
Right? M14s or...
Wait, are you saying... Jared, are you saying that you had vaginal blood in your system still?
No.
They weren't actually firearms. They had been started out as the FM FAL. They took the drill purpose 303s and made them look like the new rifle, so that they didn't actually have to issue us with real firearms for drill.
Okay, so they used it. I would imagine they used it both for drill exercises, but also close quarter combat, right?
We never actually had to learn close quarter combat because we weren't expected to go out and have a war face and scream at the enemy.
Yeah.
You know, I was going to be a really expensive technician. You know, the sort of person you don't want to get killed, the sort of person you have guarded by real soldiers.
Yeah, and you would have to have been issued velvet gloves and.
or female Marines.
Yeah. So disappointing that practically all the photos from my from back when I was a conscript has been lost. So disappointing. Although I have them, I look like an idiot. But
Isn't that true of everyone though? Around that time frame.
yeah.
I mean, come on, I was 19 years old in those photos.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice having Alan on this panel because I don't feel quite as old.
Yeah, I'm 54 now.
Well, I
Alan,
mentioned the chat there. I
That's
said
my
that
age.
anyone who was born on my EAOS can vote next Tuesday.
I can't.
Wow.
What was your EOS?
My EOS was July 27th, 1999.
Hey, I can finally vote. So yeah, I was about 6 months old when you went on EOS. Or EOS.
As I commented, as I said to my daughter earlier, all of my children are now older than I was when I joined up.
I've been thinking of enlisting, and then I realized I'm a fat fuck. So
It
Well,
could
back
be
in-
good motivation to knock down that weight.
And it also has other, advantages with the ladies, or the men, or whatever, or the ponies, or whatever.
Whichever your preference is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I will say this. The only time I wore my uniform up in this area was during Fleet Week. Because I did not pay for a single drink, and I had a lot of fun. I wonder if Sean and Sly are gonna join in.
Sean just went live a few minutes ago.
See, and I told him we were live over here, and that one of the topics I wanted to talk about, because I find it absolutely fucking hilarious, was Southern dipshit.
Oh, no. They're talking about Andrew in San Diego and his inability to calibrate his GPS and direction properly.
Oh, the guy that can't, that didn't know how to work his phone a couple of months ago. The guy that didn't.
Couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And just kept talking.
Fucking Andrew Abbey. And wow. Apparently Sean's off air already. Probably because I sent him the link. It was like, come on, we can talk about whatever you want over this way too. We're already live.
I like it when I find when I'm searching Happy Gilmore memes and I find one that's appropriate for the military.
All right, let's see it.
please involve anal.
Yeah, I said that
That
once.
just went over his head completely. That's one of the times where you need that 1 Delta 10 Tango form. You need to fill that thing out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sending someone off for their ID10T. You just sometimes hope they don't come back with the Hotel Oscar Mike Z0. Yeah.
I'm so happy you pronounced that correctly. Cool.
Well, I was trying to keep it understandable for you non-American types.
This is the type of person you send for the ID10 form. The ID10 Tango form.
Okay, I'm to some extent I'm glad I don't know who Happy Gilmore is.
This movie is a Adam Sandler movie. The basic shtick is he's a goon. He's a hockey playing goon.
He's mentally retarded.
No, that was Billy Madison.
He was still mentally retarded in Happy Gilmore.
They're all about the same. So.
It's Adam Sandler. He can only play one character, just in various situations.
And I try to avoid watching his movies.
I have to say his the Netflix show that was just put up, 100% Fresh with Adam Sandler. That was okay. It was pretty entertaining.
Didn't even consider watching it. Didn't even know it was around.
I knew it was around because I was wanting to watch a live performance on a Saturday night, or not Saturday Night Live, but a late night show. And I had to sit through him talk about this show so I could watch, the actual good part of the show.
Well, since Tuesday is the election, since Tech brought that up, I thought I found an appropriate meme for that as well.
As an American who can finally vote this year, I have to say I forgot to register to vote.
Here we go.
Why does that not surprise me?
And by forget, I was going to do it. I was on the site, and then I realized you have to fill out some shit, and then I quit.
Here's the thing. It doesn't take much to register to vote in this country. It doesn't.
But still, from my point of view, it's one of the most retarded, idiotic problems with the American voting system, that you actually have to register. It's so stupid in my
Yes and no. While the fact that you have to register the vote to some people may seem like a stupid duh kind of thing.
Oh.
At the same time, there is a reason for it.
You mean like this?
Let's go there.
Do you know who Leonard French is? The copyright lawyer. He's a YouTuber.
Yes.
No.
Yeah. I gave him a tweet the other day with a link to a news article regarding exactly that bit of stupidity that we just saw on screen here. He's going to do a bit on it here on Sunday. So that was just ridiculous. But
here's the thing, is that when it comes to registering to vote, you need to prove that you are a citizen of the country, and you're a citizen in your assigned state. Because when I moved to Colorado, I was there long enough. I could have filed for a license and transferred the title of my car to the state of Colorado, done all this stuff, but I still would not have been technically a resident of the state, even though I could sign up for a voter registration for that following year.
Okay, just a small question here. When you were born, I imagine that you are automatically given a social security number.
No, you have to file for it.
Yeah, parents have to file for it.
Next problem is the social security number.
It actually depends on the state because you can get a social security number through the actual hospital, right?
It is still a separate filing form. It is not automatic.
Okay. Which it's just part of the paperwork when you're born, so
Yes.
you don't have to worry about it. It's your father or mother.
The other thing too is like
in terms of your dates of birth and your sex, is there any logic to that social security number?
Yes, there actually is. I did a little bit of research into this because of reasons that are not malicious in any way, shape, or form. The numbers are actually based off of location, general office. So you have like your office location, the hospital assignment number, I guess, and then you have the actual number order. So the person right before you who's being born will have a number right before yours.
Huh. How many digits is it?
9.
9.
It is.
No, 10.
And there is only
No, it is.
Or?
It's a
3,
9.
2, and 4.
Yes, 3, 2, and 4. The 3 is the area of the country you were born in. The middle 2 digits are tied in with a sequence for year and hospital location, and then the final 4 are the unique identifier.
Yeah. So I was right, technically.
Okay, if I remember correctly,
Here you go, Bo.
the size of Denmark is more or less the same as Massachusetts, I think.
Yeah, right about.
Yeah. So if I just take that as a standard, in Denmark we have 10 digits. The first 6 is our date of birth, day, month, year, without the first 2 digits of the year, and the last 4 digits is a control number. And if that number ends on an even number, you're a female. If not, you're a male. That's a simple thing. Why couldn't that be done in the U.S.? And that is, I mean, here that is automatically given to you when you're born. It's when the mother checks in to the maternal ward, and you go into labor, and they realize, okay, this is about the time where she gives birth. They I don't know how to say it. They request a number in the system, and the system comes back, a couple of seconds later with a number that is locked for that person getting born. And that's of course 2, but 2 numbers get locked in. And once the person is born and identified, or as some idiots call it, assigned a sex, then the unused number is discarded.
Well, and this is where population and birth rate comes into play, is because the Social Security system is a national system. And we do have a larger amount of births here in this country compared to Denmark. Not to mention, an automatic system like that, in Denmark, can someone who's not a Dane be excluded from that automatic registration?
I honestly don't know how that would work exactly, but if you are not a Danish citizen, obviously there is a system in place, but I don't know what that system is. But the simple thing is, if you are born by parents that are Danish citizens, that number, your the number that's on your birth certificate is automatically also your social security number.
Yeah.
That, in my mind, that could easily be used in the U.S. with the simple addition of 2 additional digits. And just for the fun of it, it could be instead of just being numerical or letters, it could be I can't remember what it's called now, not ASCII.
Alphanumeric.
No, from 0 to Z.
Yeah.
Alphanumeric.
Yeah. Once you throw in letters in it, it's now alphanumeric, not just numeric.
I was thinking about hex. There you go. I was thinking hex.
Oh, a hex code. All right. Yeah.
The
Well,
thing though is, even if let's say we altered the system and made SSNs automatic, that still wouldn't change the voting thing, because the voting complexity is created by the fact that in the U.S. you can only vote in one location.
Yep.
So you can't go cast different vote. Can't cast 2 votes at 2 different locations.
And
Secondly, the actual elections themselves are administered individually by the states, not by the federal government. So
Even for the presidency.
yeah.
But that is also not a problem. Here, it's a matter of you are, when an election comes up, doesn't matter, what type, if it's a parliament or, local, doesn't matter. You are sent a letter, and that letter tells you where to go and post your vote, and you have to bring that letter with you.
yeah.
And they control that with the computer, so you cannot deliver your vote anywhere else except that exact spot. They have a name. They have a piece of paper with your name on it. If you're not on that list, you're not able to cast a vote there.
Yeah, that's why we register to vote. The same information is given to the person who registers there.
In Denmark, are you required to register with the government where you live? Is that a legal requirement?
Yeah, that's done automatically.
Yeah, you see, in the US and in the UK, that isn't we do not have to register with the government where we are living. So therefore, we have to register to vote so that the government knows where we are living.
There's a gray area there on the U.S. side. The reason why there is a gray area on the U.S. side for that one, Alan, is anytime you physically move, anytime you relocate in the U.S., whether it's within the state, even within the town, you have a window of 2 weeks in my state, 10 business days to update your address for your driver's license, which is your identification and your address of record with the state and local government.
But
Same here in Washington.
I assume you don't have to have a driver's license.
No, but if you are 18 or older, you do have to have ID.
For just about everything.
Then,
Well, you don't necessarily have to have ID. I mean, you're going to have a very difficult life without it. But
Right.
Yeah. Something that requires an official ID, and you do not have a driver's license. What is there that you can use instead?
A state identification card. It looks just like a driver's license, but it does not give you the legal ability to operate a motor vehicle.
yeah.
It actually just depends state by state. Here, where I live, I can show them my penis, and they can match that with previous records. So that's something completely different.
Yeah, they can only do that with sex offenders there, Piggy.
That's what he said. I'm sorry. But again, I mean,
Listen, I only streaked once, okay?
Yeah, you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Then, in this case, with the voter registration thing, and you don't, and the
sex offenders registration.
That you have to tell the government where you have moved to.
How do you know he only has 1 stone?
Listen, man, I know I called my testicles stones, but you don't have to make fun of me for that.
They're probably too spongy. But, yeah. But still, it's just one of those weird quirks that just. I mean, I realize that it's also a matter of okay, how do we modernize a system that has been designed around a paper-based database?
Easy. You send all the papers to India like the UK did.
Or no,
Yeah.
better yet, China, communist China. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
People's Republic of China.
Listen, okay. Already 500 million Americans, personal information has been released.
500?
So, yeah.
500? Isn't it 350 or something?
Hey, I
I
found
don't fucking know. At this point, everyone's been fucking.
Look-a-Pig's fake ID,
Ooh.
Is
Be a
it
dildo.
safe
including
enough
the
to
proper
share?
name too. Oh yeah. Look at that name. That is so Look-a-Pig.
Hold on, let me zoom in.
Ah, man.
Whoa.
I saw one of Donut Operator's videos. He's a YouTuber. Of a guy they stopped. He was showing videos of and articles and so on, and he showed an article of a police department somewhere in the U.S. that had stopped someone. I think he also was a sovereign citizen. Well, a person who believes that he is a sovereign citizen. He had made his own driver's license with using just normal paper and laminated it. He used Homer Simpson's picture, and he named himself Homer Simpson.
Hey, Jay, check the side chat.
Yikes!
No.
Man.
Now, what do my fellow Americans think about the whole real ID issue?
Real ID.
Oh god.
I had a feeling that was going to be your initial response, Jay.
Well, here's the thing. Washington State has just been, how do I put it? Lazy about adopting it. You know what I mean? Almost to the point where, in order to travel out of the state, I was going to have to use my passport to even go to anywhere like California or anywhere else in the U.S. That's how bad this real ID BS is.
The fuck?
In our state, they just made it optional, so you can get the regular one or you can get a real ID one. So
Wait, well, what is this real ID? Why have I not heard of it?
It's essentially an enhanced identification, an enhanced driver's license to where it doesn't have the same power as a passport, but it's damn close.
Yeah, it's like we had the enhanced ID for between us and Canada for people to go across before the real ID thing became an issue. It's just that the state's like, well, we just funded this, enhanced driver's license program between us and Canada. Now you want us to adopt this between us and the rest of the states? Because the TSA was getting to a point where they were tired of fake IDs getting people through various checkpoints. So they wanted a standardized format.
It's so stupid. I mean, this is really, really simple. The only way you could, and a real ID is a ID that has either been issued by the government or an organization that has been, authorized to produce IDs. It's that simple. The thing.
And that's the thing.
Different states have different designs, of course. But if United States makes a minimum standard, how to format it, and certain security measures have to be implemented, and every single state is compelled to use that design format. They can still use their own, local designs and so on. Would that really be that hard to create such a system?
Here's the thing. That is actually what they've gone to. What really put a hurdle into it at the beginning was the fact that the federal government doesn't have that authority to essentially strong-arm the states into how they handle the licensing and ID issuance.
Yeah, there is a reason why I call the U.S. the United Divided States. It's really weird. I mean, the states are weird that way.
I didn't know this.
Daddy tells his son, "You have to do this," and the son has the ability to say, "Nuh-uh."
I got a question.
So weird.
I
With
think the problem
the,
is the US is much closer to what the EU is than a lot of people really think.
Well, like,
It truly is. If you were to make the comparison, yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's
Politically.
is the EU. But I found Sean Hufford's Washington State license.
Oh,
We're kind of like the EU if the EU itself was stronger.
Yeah.
You mean if their legislative body actually had authority?
Yeah,
needs
basically.
a bit more care.
Well, that was one of the things that drove the
Hey,
Brexit vote in the UK was the fact that there might be an EU Parliament, but it actually has no powers whatsoever.
Which is why I found it
Effectively.
hilarious when he kept losing appeals for that CPC violation. Fucking Liley said, "Well, I'll take it all the way up to the EU," and it's like, what the fuck are they gonna do? They're a fucking toothless rat.
Yeah, it's a shame that the unelected commission has pretty much all of the political power in the EU
you know what? The EU,
and all the ability to introduce legislation. The Parliament just gets to rubber stamp it.
yeah, but the EU does have some some power. I mean, many years ago, some retard in the EU decided to. Well, I think he was smoking too much. Yeah, funny stuff. They
Dutch, was he?
I don't know. No, there was some stupid EU rule or law or whatever it's called that imposes something about having cucumbers. Cucumber. They're not allowed to have over a certain bendiness, not bendy water, but they're not allowed to bend more than a certain number of degrees.
A certain amount of curvature.
Curvature. If they have too much of a curvature, they are not allowed to be sold as cucumbers.
Yeah, that's because they will damage a man's, rectum.
Yeah, that was actually implemented in Denmark. Thankfully it was quickly shut down, but damn, that's what they spend the money on.
Yeah.
That and money between somewhere in Belgium and then somewhere in France, I think it is, constantly moving.
Oh.
Can't remember the details.
Luxembourg and Strasbourg.
Yeah, that stuff, and it takes
Brussels and Strasbourg.
Yeah, I mean, how much money is wasted on that crap just to make it fair for the different countries? It's a participation medal territory, that stuff.
Yeah.
Aye.
And of course, the other thing is that the EU basically releases regulations that the member states then have to enact within their own law. And some states can be a lot more proactive in enforcing that law than others.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a matter of the EU introducing something new, and all the member countries have to abide by it. You can veto it or whatever they call it.
Well, no, you can't veto it. You have to implement it in national law. But some countries are, shall we say, far more enthusiastic about enforcing those regulations than others. I mean, the UK government has always been very enthusiastic about enforcing certain EU regulations that would just get a slide by in, say, France.
Well, everything that happens in Dragon, France has a tendency to buckle. So I wouldn't be surprised about France. But it's just I don't know how to translate, but there are some things that come from the EU where our government has the right to say, Yeah, thanks, but no thanks. We're not going to do that. I'm not sure if they're allowed to say "nuh-uh" and be done with it, and then have to still fight it, or we have to implement it, but it is contested and possibly be taken off the record again. I can't remember exactly, but there are some exceptions.
There's not much you can ignore. I mean, the UK opted out of certain bits of employment legislation.
Oh.
Working hours and bits like that.
You could be the UK and have to make people purchase a porn pass.
Sorry?
Porn passes. You have to go to
Oh.
like a magazine vendor to, access porn now.
No, you don't. Not here.
I swore that was the thing.
No.
No, I think that was I think that was happening in Australia, and then there's talk about it.
Or Ireland. I could see them doing that.
I mean, the liberation of porn to the masses started in Denmark. Some of it, anyway.
Hold on. May 13th, 2018, UK newsstands will sell porn passes to verify age under new laws.
Mm,
I mean, what
I
I'm
haven't
thinking
seen it.
is that, let's see. I remember something about in Denmark where they tried to implement a rule that if you want to buy porn magazines, for example, you're compelled as a buyer to identify yourself and, in other words, show your age with an official ID, and the seller is also compelled to check for age. I don't remember if that was ever an implemented law or not. Certainly not from the EU, but that was many, many, many years ago.
Question. So, back in your guys' day, I've always heard of stories of kids finding porn within woods. Like what? How accurate is that?
And
Finding like a stash of porn in
guys-
the woods.
Yeah, when you say you guys, what do you mean?
You
think you mean
guys,
older people.
just you old people, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We have a
Ever since I was 10, I had unlimited access to porn. So
Well, yeah, you grew up in the digital age.
yeah. I grew up in a Christian family, so of course I had copious amounts of porn available to me when either my oldest big brother was not home or my youngest big brother wasn't at home. Unofficially, of course. So
I take it that was proper Danish porn as well.
oh yeah, and German porn too. I mean, when we finally got cable TV, I got that. We got that when I was let's see, 14 or 15 or something. That was great because then we had some late night television, TV channels that a channel that shares airtime between different types of channels. At night, we had that sweet, typical 80s style German porn.
Oh, Skinamax.
Yeah, that was awesome. With guys that had the handlebar beards or
Had a moustaches.
yeah,
Moustache.
Moustache.
it was. And we're talking full bush. Yeah, I mean full bush stuff. It was.
Yeah, well, you Continentals have always been into that full bush stuff.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
somewhat.
including armpit hair on women.
That has made a comeback, and I don't fucking understand it. Like, I understand the people who want to live a granola crunchy life and all that, but seriously, hair trap smell, especially at the
humid areas. Yeah.
yeah. So what?
SJW feminism. You can blame them.
Yeah.
I do know that if you shave your armpits, it'll. If you've never done that before, the first couple of days, it's uncomfortable. It's tender. Let's call it that. And in my case, certainly, it started to be kind of prickly because the hair started piercing me, so to speak.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. I have the same problem whenever I shave the hair between my ass cheeks. You know, that hair there. I get the same exact problem.
You mean the dingleberry collectors? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, here's the question. Did it grow back thicker?
Nah, I don't fucking know.
Myth. That's a myth. That hair tends to grow thicker when you shave it. Yeah, it's a myth.
Yeah, I know.
You say
regardless of where it is. It may start growing faster, but it won't start growing thicker.
Faster, longer, and in some cases, texture can change. It's not guaranteed to, but it can.
Oh, an important detail. Thicker doesn't necessarily mean stronger. I mean, depending on the shape of hair, also has something to say in terms of how strong it feels. Okay, why are we talking about hair?
Because of Danish porn.
No, it was actually me. Me shaving my ass.
We get around. That's lovely.
What the?
I blame you and Alan. That's what the real genesis of it.
Well, we do live in the real world, so that's fair enough, I guess. And we don't have an idiot to rule our country, respectively.
Listen here, okay?
We do have some very...
He is more than an idiot.
Speaking of idiots running countries, did you guys hear the news from Germany?
Oh, yeah, I heard about her.
Angela Merkel
Yeah.
is getting the boot, so to speak.
Oh, she's resigning, so she's officially leaving of her own accord.
Yeah, well, I think she had the choice of either resigning or getting the boot. I don't know.
It's your typical
politics, especially German politics. Not that that has anything to do with anything, but no, I'm sure that she got the choice.
It's kind of like a CEO. You never see a CEO get fired. They're always resign.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Oh, well, no, it's rare to see them get fired, and they have to have allowed or been complicit in something majorly fucked up.
Yeah, or it's called here in the civilian world, seeking other challenges. When you get fired or opt to resign, it's because of you wanting to seek other challenges. It's always used euphemism for I'm getting sacked because I did something retarded.
Yeah, the quit before you're fired option.
Mm-hmm. Which is annoying. I mean, so in some countries, depending on your what do you call it, contract or whatever, you get a severance package or whatever it's called, but not if you resign yourself.
Seeking other challenges used to just be code word to why Daddy isn't allowed in the house anymore.
Well, what I grew up learning in that regard is a restraining order. I mean, I've seen so many broken families, you can't imagine it. It's really sad. But
You're talking to one right now.
Either a restraining order or the father, or in some circumstances, the mother receiving a all expenses paid hotel stay behind bars.
Well, it's a room with a view. Not much of a view.
No, sometimes it's a room with a view to an adjacent wall.
Well, no, some of them here in the U.S., you have your unobstructed view of the urinal.
Well, yeah, that's just something I don't understand. Yeah, a prison where you have the ability to urinate or defecate in your own cell.
And
I
it's
mean,
it's a combination urinal. It's a combination toilet and sink.
On some of them, yeah.
On the face of it, the sound of that, it sounds wrong. But I know what you mean.
You could do so many things with those toilets, man. I mean, from
yeah.
brewing alcohol to cooking noodles to cakes. I mean, it's amazing about what they fucking do with those double sinks or sink toilets.
But no, I mean, here we have 3 or is it 4 different types of correctional facilities. So it differs from different types, of course. But the normal open prisons, where you have an open population and you get locked in your own cells at night, your own, alone, no doubles. They have privileges there. They don't have toilets, but they do. Some of them do have a sink, but that's random. I mean, some have, some haven't. So
The only ones in my state that have their own cell are like go over to those supermaxes.
Yeah.
We have a combination. We have like super max some security. We have like kind of like the maximum security type. Most of our prisons are kind of road camps.
yeah, at some point there'll be a super max, and then a super mega max at some point.
And the road camps, most of them are like spend most of their time outside the bars because they're part of like VDOT crews and
Yeah, but that's the lowest type of. Yeah, that's the in terms of.
Yeah, but that's most of our. But that's most of our population because most of our prisoners are low. You got to realize, like we still have the drug war going on over here. So a lot of our prisoners most of our prisoners aren't in there for violent crimes or
Anything too heinous.
Yeah.
Wait. I thought drugs won the war on drugs.
Huh?
Or is that still going on?
That's still going on. We still the Coast Guard and the Navy actually still find drug subs out there still.
War on drugs is going on for ages. We're still losing.
Well, that's because
I know they won in Canada and Mexico, but I'm not sure about America yet. Mostly.
Here's the thing: when it comes to the drug war, the answer is not less drugs; it's more drugs to the right people. Because I'm sorry, I really don't have a problem with a healthy amount of overdoses. Because, sorry, stupid needs pain to learn.
Yeah, but well, I would say that some drugs are just off the table completely. But
heroin? I want to try heroin. No, I want to try meth. Oh, I should do acid.
THC related drugs in moderation, I don't see a problem with, as long as you can control it, and most people that I know of do.
But see, that's what most of our people are in there for THC drugs.
Yeah.
I should have the right to try methamphetamine.
Yeah, I'm not the host, so I'm not going to do it, but I think something is in order, Jared. Someone just joined us.
No, that was a different notification.
Main gun.
Main gun already showed up.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I meant, sorry. Hey,
Hello.
Main gun.
Hello.
Stop.
You.
At least use a smooth bore instead of that thing.
Oh, come on. Have fun with the rifled one.
Oh, smooth bores are for pussies.
Then again, I don't even remember if our Leopard 2 tanks still use rifled or smooth anymore.
I think the Leopard 2 was smooth bore. The 3 is rifled.
Yeah, I think
No,
either Mark 5 or 6.
well, I know the Brits still use a rifled gun. They use the 120 like the rest of NATO, but they do use a rifled gun, so they don't use the same ammunition, and their gun tube is long.
Oh yeah, very.
Yeah, well, it's not the length. It's the usage.
Well, one of the advantages, the advantage of having a smooth bore is you can get the same muzzle velocity out of a shorter gun tube, and a shorter gun tube allows you to more easily stabilize that gun on the move. With a longer gun tube, it makes it much more difficult to get accurate shots on the move.
Okay, let's see.
Oh yeah, this is true because the slightest deviation at the origin can vary wildly downrange.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I know that we have not I say we, but it's only the Americans that have it, that use it. But the Excalibur artillery grenade, an artillery, a grenade that can. Let's see, it has what do you call them? Vernier fins. It can control its own path. It has a GPS in there and a navigation system. That type of thing.
Self-propelled.
No, not self-propelled.
Oh,
It's
just guidance?
Oh.
Guided round.
Yeah, it's not ballistic. Jeez. Yeah, it's not powered except for the initial charge, but it is self-guided. It's only a matter of years, I think, until regular tank shells have that ability.
Well,
If you're slightly off or something, I mean, when you're on the maximum range of any type of tank round, there is some airtime there. So if you shoot at a target and they decide to move, it would be a good thing if the round had the ability to adjust its course.
well, actually, there has been ammunition in development. I don't know. I have no idea if it's entered service or not. But I know about 20 years back there was ammunition in development that could tank main gun ammunition. Let's say you're firing at another tank that is in a turret down position. You can't hit him. He's behind a berm, but you know he's there. You fire this round over the tank, and when you fire it, it automatically orients itself so that the warhead in the round is not pointed forward. It's pointed to the side. And so when you fire it, it automatically orients itself so that warhead is pointed down, and it has sensors in it. So when it overflies the top of the tank, it fires a shape charge, or not a shape charge, a self-forging penetrator down through the thin top armor of that tank. Now, whether they actually put that into production or they shit canned the idea, I have no idea.
No. Well, the biggest challenge of a self-guided tank round or artillery round or whatever it is, the biggest challenge is the PCB. I mean, the circuit board that will hold all the electronics. The G-forces that they endure when you shoot those things is just incredible. I mean, launching just launching a Stinger missile out of a standard launch tube, regardless of it's being fired from the shoulder or from an aircraft or whatever. From a helicopter that's hovering. That thing pulls 20 Gs when the initial burst motor. Well, it's called a motor in Denmark anyway. Which has the specific task of just throwing that missile out of the tube away from the shooter before the actual rocket motor starts up. That kicks it with 20 Gs. It's really hard to produce electronics that can survive that sort of thing, and that's in the low range.
You think that's bad? They're trying to develop one of those types of rounds to use in the railgun.
But
I was going to say the 1960s Bloodhound missile that we had for medium range air defense, 0 to Mach 2, 25 feet.
What is that in
7.62 meters.
Yeah, what's that in Gs though? I have how to calculate that.
All I know is it comes off the rail at Mach 2.
Yeah.
So
And I think that the
2 in its own length.
the acceleration of the Stinger missile. I mean, when you launch that thing, as soon as the missile and the motor that's not attached to the missile comes out of the launch tube, it basically just falls out. It just falls down. From the high-speed footage that I've seen, the propellant in that start motor, or what do you call it, stops burning before it leaves the tube. So that initial acceleration, that is inside the launch tube. In other words, it's within 1 meter. Well, 105 centimeters, I think. But thinking about the Excalibur artillery round, I think that the documentary from Discovery Channel, can't remember the show. I think they said about 200 Gs of acceleration that thing has to endure when you shoot it. That's just insane, especially if it has steering fins and navigation. That's just insane.
Isn't that what they call a hypervelocity missile?
The Stinger?
Or no.
I mean, Excalibur.
Okay, now,
That's just an artillery round. Well, just.
oh yeah. Well, yeah. Well, you've heard of copperheads, right? We had copperheads in the Gulf
Well, I don't know
back in
Copperhead.
90.
You know what a shape charge is.
A copperhead is a artillery round. Now, granted, artillery has a much lower velocity than a tank round does, but even still, it's fired from artillery, and it's designed to kill armored vehicles. And what you have forward deployed is someone with a mule, a laser designator aimed at a target. The artillery fires this copperhead, and as it arcs in, it homes in on that. It is self-guided, and it homes in on that radar reflection and will kill just about any armor that you've got out there, because it's penetrating through the thin top armor of that vehicle.
Yeah, that's the advantage of impacting tanks or other armored vehicles from the top. That's the advantage of a Javelin, although it's heavy as fuck. As I've never seen one myself from up close, but from what I hear, they're really, really heavy and they're really difficult to move. But to use. But they do have 3 different modes, which is awesome.
Yeah, they direct attack, top attack, and what else?
Burst.
Well,
there's it's wrong to say it, but ballistic. Sorry, direct fire, top down fire, and the airburst mode. I don't know if they can choose airburst mode both in top down and direct fire, but I know that they can do it using top down fire. So they can use it for personnel, I think.
So it's got a fragmentation shell around it then.
Well, we could find out. Although I'm on my backup computer.
I don't know. We did
2 different types of warheads, I think.
No, we didn't have javelins when I was in. We still had dragons, and that was infantry. I didn't have anything to do with those guys. Did I ever tell you my tow missile story?
I'm not sure. I think so. I just can't remember. If you did, it's a long time ago.
We were in Korea, and just my platoon, and we're doing some live fire at this range, and some tow vehicles show up, just a Humvee with a tow launcher on top, and they were cleared to fire, and these guys are talking shit, Tanks are obsolete. TOW missile, best damn missile in the world. Blah 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 blah. We have a range of 3,000 meters. Shut the fuck up. Our rangefinder can range to 4,400 meters. Oh, we're guaranteed a first round kill and all this other. They're just talking shit. You just shut up and shoot your damn missile and go home, right? They don't get a chance to shoot very often because they're looking at $10,000 a missile when they're shooting, so they don't do much live fire. So anyhow,
the greatest and latest. Ooh, that is the best thing. It doesn't matter how good the other stuff is. If it's used, it has to be the best.
oh yeah. Well, and this guy's they're just running their mouths, right? We're just shut up and shoot your fucking missile and go home, right? So after talking all this smack, the guy gets up there and like that Stinger, it's got an initial charge just to push it out of the tube, and so that when the rocket motor actually fires, it's not like blasting the gunner, because the gunner's exposed up on top of the vehicle. So anyhow, they get all set up, and we're supposed to stand well back and off to one side, blah blah blah. So we're just standing around watching, and he gets all lined up on the target and fire in the hole. And that initial charge fired, and the rocket motor never did. And this thing comes shooting out of the tube and goes about 50 meters in front of the goddamn Humvee and just sits there. And we are laughing our fucking asses off. Oh, yeah, TOW missile, best missile in the world, tanks obsolete. Oh, yeah. You guys are awesome.
I've seen so many YouTube videos of that happening with different types of missile or rocket systems, where people just panic and just shit, run.
Oh yeah,
it's just laughable.
Well, then they had to shut down the range because EOD's got to go out there and take care of this live missile sitting in the middle of the range, right?
Yeah.
So they show up in a pickup truck. And it's a warrant officer and a sergeant driving this pickup truck, and they drive out to the missile, and they get out of the truck and they're looking at it. And then they come back, and this sergeant is briefing us on what they're going to do. The missile is too close to the gun line, so they're going to have to move the missile further out into the range, and then set in place and set demo charges on it and blow it out there. And this sergeant is telling us where he wants us to be, so we're not in the way, right? And as he's talking, the warrant officer is very casually and very slowly doing some back steps, right? And when the sergeant gets done briefing us on what they're going to do, he turns around, and now the warrant officer is sitting in the driver's seat of the truck. So the sergeant kind of hangs his head, and he walks out to the truck. They get in it, they drive out there, and we're kind of looking around going, something ain't right. So we grab the binos off the tank, and we're watching through the binoculars. What the hell is going on? They drive out to the missile. The sergeant gets out. The warrant officer is still sitting behind behind the steering wheel. Sergeant gets out, and he looks down at this missile laying here on the ground. And then he gets up, and he walks over to the driver's side of the truck and has a very brief, heated conversation with this warrant officer. Walks back to the missile, drops the tailgate on the truck, very gingerly picks this live missile up in his hand, takes a few steps back, sits his ass on the tailgate of the pickup truck, and lays the missile in his lap. And then the truck takes off. And it goes boing, 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 off, out, down the range, and bouncing this son of a bitch, this poor bastard all over. If that missile would have gone off with it sitting in his lap, I mean, the warrant officer would be just as dead, but at least they might find pieces of him. But yeah, they drove that son of a bitch another couple hundred yards out into the range, and then set it and blew it. But Jesus, you could not pay me enough to do that job.
No,
Not
I mean,
near enough.
and do you remember how much they used? 150 or 200 grams?
No idea.
I
No
mean,
idea.
Depending on the misfire from the that we use from the Does Carl Gustav mean anything to you guys?
Yes.
I Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
That's another ATGM, isn't it? That's a
It's not the 18, it's an old one. I show Jared. I think I showed you some pictures that I took a while back. Of the model that we use from and taken from a range. There are more modern ones made of fiberglass, but those things. If you shoot a brisant or just a normal HE round and it misfires somehow to destroy it, and I'm not in demolitions. If they have to destroy it in the most where they have to use the highest amount of explosive to deal with it, it's just 150 grams. But then again, it's not a large rocket anti-tank round. So
yeah, that's a man portable one, isn't it? I think it's also recoilless. I think it fires some type of charge out the back.
It has a so yeah.
Yeah, I remember those. I remember reading about them at least.
And they're actually awesome fire. I mean, the largest boom, so to speak, and you can get from it if you fire a light round or illumination round. That's the heaviest type of ammunition for it that I have ever fired anyway. And it can take up to 30, 40 seconds before. I mean, you could, there's a dial that you can choose the delay time for, but I think the delay is up to 60 seconds as a standard, but that's just because the timer assembly is used for different types of weapons. If I'm remembering correctly, it's been so many years since I used it.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
I keep getting pictures of the HC4. That's not what I need. But it's the reusable one. Come on. Yeah. I mean, if only my main computer was still running, I could easily just have shown you some pictures that I took myself. There's a bad picture of it. Hang on. Let me just go share this thing if the computer will allow me. Yeah, that guy and that guy. Okay, I can never remember if you guys can see the mouse. Can you?
Yeah.
I mean.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we have these two models still. The HC4 that we have over here, we have there are three different types, but there's three different types. We have a toe down here. But that guy there, it's difficult to see because of the angle, but it is not much better, that one. Oh, no, it is almost completely recoilless, but you never ever fire that thing standing. I mean, you only fire that if you're lying down or you're in a firing position where you dig in, so you can stand firing in cover.
Sure,
so,
that's a big ass damn rocket.
Yeah, it's
for a man portable.
And I can't even remember the weight of that thing.
84 millimeter.
Yeah, just like the HE4, the fire get and also a throwaway tube. It's the same diameter. It packs a lot more punch. This thing, and you have different types of ammunition for it too. But it's not all that funny to run around with, but it's a great weapon.
Oh, I bet.
And by the way, this was my baby. The buzzsaw, as some Americans call it, the M40, the MG62, which is the updated version of the MG42 and MG39, which was used against us by the Nazis, just as a bonus. And that's just
Well, I know.
17 kilos of love right there.
Well, I know the 42 had an extremely high rate of fire.
Yep.
What was this? Did the 62 maintain that same high rate of fire?
Mine did, but that's because I accidentally modified it by stretching out the coil spring in the buttstock.
Oops.
And if I really wanted to get it to fire quickly, I would add in a D-cell battery there. That'll make it even faster. I could get it up to between 900 and 1,200 rounds per minute. Especially
Jesus.
if I put it in the in a mount. Let's see if I can find. I think no, there wasn't. Let's see.
That's very short controlled bursts. Else you have a lot of barrels you got to go through.
I mean, it's standard to be issued 2 barrels for it and 2 logs.
So when you normally when I train with the machine gun on the tank, as a gunner, one of the weapon systems at my disposal was the coax machine gun, which was just essentially an M60 machine gun. But we always trained to fire bursts that were 3 to 5 tracer bursts. So, and every 5th round is a tracer. You got a rate of fire of somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 rounds a minute. So, so you're looking at maybe 2.5 second bursts that you're firing. Did you do the same thing or?
Yeah, I mean, it always depends on the type of target that you shoot at. But it's always the always use short bursts thing, but never that long. I mean, it's usually the the usual thing that they try to teach you is the lower amount of rounds you can get downrange, the better. I mean, it's really hard to get only 2 rounds downrange without jerking the trigger. I've known some people that were able to get 1 round downrange at a time without jerking it, but you have to have extremely quick muscles because it has a very hard trigger. I don't know how much pressure you need, but it's a lot. And by the way, what I'm sharing here is the German version of it. They have this sighting system here, so you can fire in total protection. That we don't have that the Danish Army, but everything else is exactly the same setup. If you put it in, it has recoil dampeners that allows it to keep firing, but at a higher rate than if you were holding the machine gun. So just by putting it in that stand or mount, make fire quicker than just if you just held it. But no, stretching out the coil spring that's in here, and if you don't overdo it, put in a D-cell battery in there, it'll fire very fast. But you don't want to do it during the summer if you have a lot of live ammunition. You do not want to.
No.
You can have real trouble, and I have tried that. Thankfully, it was I was firing it, but it was a night firing exercise, so I could see the barrel starting to glow slightly. That was that was a good time for me to exchange barrels.
I had one occasion where I was firing some long ass bursts, and I was just rocking that damn machine gun. And my driver, who had his hatch open for ventilation, but he didn't have his head up. He was down in the driver's compartment. He looked up, and kicked on the intercom and he said, "Hey, you might want to let off on that machine gun. The tip of that barrel's starting to glow."
Oh, okay.
And oh, okay. And so I backed off the machine gun, and my TC took over with the 50 cal, while my loader had the dubious honor of attempting to change that damn barrel. Yeah,
Yeah. And for the the G3, as the Germans call it, yes, it's a fiberglass. What do you call it? Not a glove, but just a piece of cloth. But it's made of fiberglass or something like that. It's still not thick enough. You have to hurry when you change it. You really have to hurry.
yeah.
Otherwise-
Well, all he had was leather gloves, and he had and he also had an asbestos mitten that we kept on the tank.
Yeah, asbestos.
But-
That's the one I was thinking about.
Yep.
And sadly, we don't use these machine guns anymore. Now we have the latest version of M60, which is a disappointment. I mean, it looks cool and all, but it's just a disappointment. It's just a plop, 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 plop. It does not instill fear in the people you're firing at.
Well,
The old machine gun did.
yeah, but still having 7.62 rounds flying over your head is enough
Still-
to kick in a little bit of a pucker factor there.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
We've heard so many times, so many stories of Taliban not liking even just the sound of those machine guns. The M60, that was just another weapon, but the MG62, they didn't know what it was, but the sound of that thing makes. I mean, it more or less sounds like an A10, but from the ground, and has a higher rate of fire. I think I'm not sure, but it's just they really don't like that thing.
Oh, I'll bet. Yeah, that's one of the things that the damn bean counters don't understand about tanks is one of the biggest advantage of a tank is psychological. Because unless you've got anti-tank weapons to stop it, you're not stopping that son of a bitch. It's going to come and kill every last fucking one of you. And it's a big ass scary fucking target. But the bean counters, all they see is cost effectiveness, and they completely miss its psychological purpose.
Okay, I'm not sure if it's only me, but I'm getting really choppy audio here. Probably my computer trying to kill itself.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I think my gun seems okay. I think it's Eric that might be the one that's clicking a little.
No, I was muted, so.
Oh well. I still think it's my backup computer here. Issues. I'm trying to look at some pictures that I gave Jared a while back. Apparently, it's taxing for my computer.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm trying to do everything on a 4-year-old laptop, and yeah, some things just ain't working.
Yeah. That's why I'm really looking forward to being able to get my computer back up and running. Come on. Here we go, I hope.
Well, I didn't mean to jump in and take over the conversation.
To get another non/non-Navy guy in here.
Yeah,
Outnumbered.
yeah, I know what you mean. Well, all the Navy fellows here are, and virtually everybody else except you and me are, even when they were in the service, they dealt in highly technical fields, and they all talk to each other, and they all understand what they're saying, and I kind of sit there and I go, me grunt.
Yeah, the same way I feel when they start talking about pay grades.
Oh yeah, the Navy makes absolutely no sense when it comes to that crap.
Well, I think it's the whole military system in the U.S. I think isn't it? The pay grade system.
The E1, E2 thing.
Yeah, that stuff.
Oh,
I do believe that's
yeah.
the whole. I mean, both the Navy, Marines, and Army, and Air
Well,
Force.
the
Sure.
entire military uses the pay grades. Okay, well, like in the Marine Corps, a sergeant is an E5, and it doesn't matter what his what his job is, what his MOS is. He's still a sergeant. An E5 is a sergeant.
Mhm.
In the Navy, on the other hand, what you call him depends on what his job is, and they
generically, like be a Jared would both equivalent of a sergeant. He is E5s, but generally we just get referred to as petty officer.
Okay.
We're second class petty officers, but we're petty officer. Yeah, you could add the rate to it, and like the official, like if you were officially writing down our rank,
Mhm.
I would have been an FT2. He would have been an AT2.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, and that's where, depending on the community you're in, it was more on the Airedale side, on the aviation side, calling someone just simply petty officer was more for someone you did not know what their rate was. But
Which should have been rare in and of itself.
Not really, no, because you could see someone that was also an AIMD, but you don't know if they're a PR, you don't know if they're an AD or an AM. The AOs stood out. You knew the AOs like a mile off.
Those fuckers are crazy.
Yeah, but that's generally where on the aviation side we kept with just the generic petty officer, which was really good actually for E4, E5, and E6, third, second, and first class. But if you worked around the people enough, it was by calling them by their actual rate, which was AT2 for me, FT2 for Eric, and so on.
Well, the last time I actually had a rate, I was an ET3.
Yeah.
After that, they sent me. After that, they decided I needed to be an officer, and well, they're all dicks. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm sure that people in America that has no clue about what happens in the military in any way, shape, or form has the same the same problem that I tend to have when I hear that petty officer designation being used. I mean, it's just the word, the usage of that word, petty. I mean, I can't help thinking, something negative.
Etymology.
That's not meant by it, I know, but
yeah,
still.
Etymologically, it came from petite, as opposed to just the idea that you're.
But what you're talking about, every service that I've ever been aware of makes a distinction between your generic enlisted man and a non-commissioned, and what's referred to as a non-commissioned officer. You have in the Navy, of course, you have the petty officers, the chief petty officer, the warrant officer in some rare occasions. I've met a couple, not many, and then you have proper officers. Those of us that actually have a full commission.
I
really,
prefer the German way of designating someone who is just below officer. That's Unteroffizier, under officer. It's just way more descriptive without being without the word being.
Well, unfortunately,
exactly,
unfortunately for us, we're based on the British naval tradition. In which case, petty officers were a thing.
Yeah, petty officers.
Whilst the petty officer had actually had a position, had a proper position in the chain of command, you couldn't very well just call them officers because, quite frankly, they're not.
No, well,
A chief came from the same position. You have somebody that's been around the block about 3,000 times longer than anybody else on a ship. He becomes a chief petty officer because he's in charge of all the rest of us fucks.
Well, hey, if you look at the British Army in the 50s, if you had a corporal, you could, you could even see a corporal screaming, not at a major, but he would be able to, he could usually have higher, more authority, I should say, than a major.
That's because there's a great saying, billet precedes rank. When I changed station from Jacksonville to Japan to join the Kitty Hawk, when I checked in aboard ship and got into the shop, I was immediately put into the position of being the production supervisor. As an E4 fresh to the boat, I had E5s that worked for me because they didn't want the job.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the same way it works in the Danish National Home Guard. It's more about your skills than your rank. I mean, you have to use rank. I mean, you have to have a what do you call it? A chain of command. But if you're out on a job somewhere and you have a challenge that you don't really know how to solve, but there is someone who's a private that does know about this stuff, then he is put in charge. And it doesn't matter if it's if you have a captain or even higher rank. It's the private that takes command of that specific part because he is the professional at that specific test. He doesn't have the final say, but he is given command of that task because it's his specialty. Whether or not it's his official military specialty or if it's his, it could just be because he's a nerd in this type of task, whatever it might be.
Well, I did have a similar situation happen with me. My company was deploying to Okinawa. We were going over and replacing Charlie Company. Charlie Company was coming back to the States, and so we're going to get their gear and they're going to get our gear. And I was tasked because of personnel fuck ups. I was tasked for about a month to be the armory custodian.
Oh, my condolences.
Yeah, that was a fun ass job. Anyhow, basically my job was to make sure all the goddamn weapons got cleaned and were shiny and sparkly for Charlie Company when they came to take over. So I'm standing in front of the captain, and he's asking me, "Have all the weapons been cleaned yet? All the personal weapons?" And I said, "No, sir. There's still a few out there that have not been cleaned yet." God damn it! You will make sure that every single person that has not cleaned their goddamn weapon is in that fucking armory tomorrow morning cleaning their goddamn personal weapon. Do you understand me? And
Your
I said,
response at this time is, "Sir, yes, sir."
"Yep, that's what I said." And I said, "So I'll see you in the armory tomorrow morning, sir." And he blinked a couple of times, and he said,
Yeah.
"Yeah, yep,
Well,
yep."
hey, the greatest power in the world that you can exercise, if you have guard duty at a barracks or whatever it might be, and you just have that one of those low ranks, and then some brass one of the brass guys comes and they're just an asshole, and you get to say, "Excuse me, sir, I'd like to see your ID, please, sir." You just give them a hard time.
Oh no!
I love that stuff.
Here was a fun one for you. In a state visit, I actually had in my hot little hands a member, one of the higher ranking members from the Department of Defense. I won't say which one because that could give away more information than I really wanna. But he had been stopped by God, what was he? He was a Marine private. The guy had been stopped there by a Marine private. The private himself has just gotten here. I've had access to this guy all 3 days. And the first thing I had to say is, if you are on sentry duty, you don't have to take shit from anybody. Not even you, sir. Not even the fucking president. Bill himself could show up here and you still have the right to ask him for his ID. In fact, you don't have the right to ask him for his ID. You are actually required to ask him for his ID.
That's the unwritten.
He could have fucked something up and has been. His ID could have been retracted for some reason. So of course you have to see his ID every single time.
That is what is referred to as the 13th unwritten general order. I will walk my post from flank to flank and take no shit from any rank.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
We
have something more simple than that. But, yeah.
That was the first thing I taught the first thing I taught the guys when I started getting really super junior enlisted. That's the first thing I taught them. You do not have to take their shit. If they're being assholes, you are welcome to stop them at any time, as long as they're in a space where you can see them, and they must answer to the sentry.
Yeah, as long as it's within your rules. I mean, the job that you're performing, of course.
Actually, every sentry has a specific area in which he can engage anybody that wanders through. That guy tried it with me twice. Okay, the first time I said,
if it's within the confines of your rules.
Here, the first time I said, "Good man, here's my ID." He looked at it, handed it back to me, said, "Carry on, sir." And I said, "You have a nice day now." The next time, he was trying to show off for one of the female Marines that had just turned up herself. And I don't know what you Marines call them while their sleeves are still slick. I don't know what you call them. Punk boots, as far as I'm concerned.
I don't know. I didn't work around any females.
Well, no, it wasn't a question of that. It was a question of what do you actually call them before they become proper privates.
That
E1 rank. I never quite got that.
Well, and E1 is a private. E1 is a private. E2 is a PFC, and E3s are lance corporals.
Sorry. Okay. Anyway. So I actually have that. I actually had that guy backwards. He was a PFC. We don't make anybody that in the Army. They don't make anybody a corporal until they actually manage to make E4. So.
Well, yeah, no. Lance corporal is different than a corporal. A lance corporal is a troopy. A lance corporal is not a corporal. A corporal is an NCO, E4. But a lance corporal, E3, is just a troop.
Right.
Well, hey, anything less would make things confusing. So
back to it. I raised my eyebrow at him, showed him my ID, and gave him the look like, I know what you're doing here. And he just kind of, he just kind of looked. He cowered a little bit, looked up at me, and went, carry on, sir. Said, we'll talk about this one a little later. I never, and I let him stew for like 3 weeks before he finally asked when we were going to have that conversation. I went, what the hell are you talking about? Just because you're trying to show off the girl doesn't mean anything. And he walked away all confused, but he never did it again.
Well,
He thought I was going to kill him.
I did have one particular occasion where I had to put a captain on his face. So I was on guard duty in Okinawa, and I was just a lance corporal at the time. It was my first pump in Okinawa, and I'm on the tank ramp, and you're authorized to use lethal force on the tank ramp. It's on the weekend. It's in the middle of the fucking night, and a POV, a car, drives onto the damn tank ramp, and a fellow in civilian attire gets out and starts walking towards the maintenance shed. So
I think he told us this story once, Main Gun.
Did I?
I think he told us this one. It's been a long time though. The only thing I really remember is that lethal force was just about to get used.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I gave a halt. Who goes there? And the guy didn't answer me, so I took cover. And I said again, halt. Who goes there? And he says, Captain so-and-so, but he didn't stop. He kept moving towards that maintenance shed. And so I chambered a damn round. And now I said, halt. Yes. And that time he stopped and he started calling me every book.
Every name of the book and some of them that you made up on the spot. Because I know Maurice. They have an
card out.
candy capacity to do that.
But hey, that's the kind of stuff that it would just be glorious to have an audio recording of, so that you could use it against him if he decides to put you through the ringer. You just play it to his nearest commanding officer.
Lay it on the deck.
Never had anybody try to get on the boat, but it would have been similar probably.
Yeah. I haven't had that experience, but it got close in my youth in the barracks. But it was to translate it would be the base commander, I guess. But in an army artillery base, the big cojones guy, he had walked in his civilian clothes. I had never seen the guy. I've seen a photo of him, in his what do you call it, in his dress uniform. My colleague, same problem, but as soon as we started yelling, he did at least stop. We were ready to. Of course, we had a chamber round. We had a round in the chamber already, but of course, the one type of order is to just load. Take pull your load tab there. It's now I'm fumbling up the English names for it. Telegraph, no. But he did commend us for not just letting him in. So
I bet he did, because quite frankly, he was wrong.
Yeah, well, he never said it, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did it on purpose to test us. I wouldn't be surprised. We never talked about it. We never asked because, hey, he was he's not a general, but I think he was a colonel.
He was much bigger than you. That's about as much as any of us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, hey, I was 18 something. I was a conscript. I was practically the lowest piece of shit on base. This was even before our boot camp was over. So,
there's a good one for you. That was my story actually. We had the admiral blow through a side door into our barracks. I mean, the admiral, and the guy that had actually been standing watch said, "Attention!" All he had to say was "Officer on deck," and I'm going, "Dude, what are you doing? What are you doing?" And I walked up and challenged him in, and he just gave me a look like, "Are you the one supposed to be doing that?" And I said, "Sir, no, sir." On the other hand, the guy that is supposed to do that seems to have forgotten. Your
Whoopsie.
military ID, please. He produced it for me. I gave it back to him. I went and I checked the magic list. Are you allowed to be here? Yes, you are. Okay, good. What can we do for you today, sir?
Oh, wait a minute. A magic list. Where was this? At a secret
barracks.
kind of stuff, or just
This is our
normal
barracks
barrack stuff? Okay,
No,
no secret materials in the area.
no. The magic list was just a list that they gave everybody that said who was and wasn't allowed to have access to that particular building or that
okay.
particular barracks area. It's just an access list, nothing actually magic about it.
No, but was it because that these barracks had different types of military units, or
No, it was because
I've
we
never heard of it?
That's because they were trying to train us to make sure we knew exactly who we were letting in and whether or not they were even authorized to be there.
Oh, okay.
There was
Okay,
another
well.
instance where they sent a guy that wasn't supposed to be there and waited for us to try and stop him. He was there for a grand total of 2 minutes before, once again, I had to bail somebody's ass out. I'm sorry, sir. You are not. I am sorry, sir. I realize that you have that you are a member of the United States Armed Forces. You are a member of the United States Navy, but your name is not on this access list. I say, give me that. And
I have a
they
funny-
took it right away from me.
I have a funny Watchstander story because there was a time that I kept getting called sir by a commander.
How the hell that happened? I want to. Okay, I got to hear
Okay.
this.
So,
Yeah,
what
I
is
was-
your rank?
At the time, I was in A school and I was an E3.
In other words, you were a private plus in terms of
We
rank.
call them in our day. We call those seamen.
Yeah, seaman. So
Actually,
I was
you can be seaman, airman, or fireman. One of those three.
I was actually
Hey.
a seaman. So, but
Hey, anyone on a boat in the Navy is a fireman. In the American Navy, isn't it? Are they?
no.
That's a serious
Actually,
question.
It has
Yeah.
more to
Well,
do
on a
with
sub,
survival
yes,
rates
but-
than anything else. Most rates are seamen. The kids like Jared, the Airedales, they were all airmen.
Engineering
and the
people
folks that
were
in engineering
firemen.
Spaces were firemen.
CBs would be construction men.
Actually, construction
Okay.
is a specific rate unless they changed that after I left.
No, but they had blue stripes. They were construction men.
Really?
Yeah, if they're E3 or below, they were construction men, just like you had seamen, except their stripes were blue. Green aviation, red engineering, white, black, blue, whatever you want to call it. Seamen and blue, and the actual blue is construction men. Yeah. So
See, now I did. See, now the construction men, if I remember correctly, was not a thing, or at least it wasn't a thing I saw when I was in. Or
but yeah,
when
you're
that
not gonna
shit mattered.
see CBs a lot, so it's not gonna be something you're gonna see very often. And then most time when you do see them, you're gonna see a lot of NCOs, so POs.
Well, yeah, the only
But-
CVs I ever met were NCOs.
Yeah. But if they're
I-
if you have a CB, someone in a CB rate E3 or below, it's light blue stripes and they're construction men.
Oh,
I had a CB once.
damn.
No, sorry,
Learn something new
completely
every
different.
day.
But anyway, let's get to the officer. So I'm an E3 and I'm standing in the security watch in the officer sub school building in Groton, and this is a Saturday, and they have Naval Reserve is doing some stuff there.
What?
And
Oh.
so I'm having to check IDs and clearance and anybody entering the building. And one of the guys coming in was a Naval Reserve commander, And it's starting out normal where I'm just checking his ID and says about needing his ID, sir, and all that kind of stuff. And he keeps calling me sir too. And finally, I'm going like, sir, why do you keep calling me sir?
You're the guard, damn.
Yeah, and he's like, well, you're active duty, and you're here all the time. I'm just kind of a weekend warrior, and we both put our pants on one leg at a time and stuff like that. And I thought, okay, that was cool. So, have a good day, sir. And said, you too, sir. It's like, okay. So it was just so weird being called sir by a commander.
Oh God! When I first got to my first duty station after OCS, holy shit! Being called, I went from being an ET3, the lowest of the low, to being an officer, and I'm thinking, and the first person calls me sir, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking to?
Oh, just in the back of your head, he wasn't talking to me.
Like, down the line. I'm walking down the street, and it keeps happening. What the fuck? Who are they talking to? And I actually said this out loud, and a nearby lieutenant said, they're talking to you. I went, huh? You see that piece of brass there? Oh, fuck me. And he says, no, I don't think I want to do that, but do try and keep that piece of brass in mind for a while there, Ensign. Yeah, it's going to make a difference. Maybe I should wear something. Maybe I should not. Don't even start there. But I'm telling you, you try that, and the admiral will get you, and then you'll be calling somebody sir for a long time. Who? Yeah, I'll tell you later. And he walked off, and I never saw him again. But the following morning, I found out very clearly why some things just weren't done. I wound up in charge of a Marine gunnery sergeant, and that was an education. The one thing my dad used to tell me from way back in the day: if you find yourself as a senior NCO, you pay attention, because he's been at it longer than you have. He knows what you're supposed to be doing. You don't have to do what he tells you to do most of the time, but you'd better fucking listen.
That's kind of really one of the jobs of the senior NCO is to train junior officers, in their kind of one of their tasks.
Yeah, it's one of the situations where experience trumps rank, for an obvious reason.
Actually, I have it on good authority that MCPON and his Marine equivalent took Mr. Trump aside a couple of days before he was inaugurated, and informed him in no uncertain terms that he was going to get some instruction in a few days, and he better listen the fuck up. Well, I have a meeting with the Admiralty. No, you did. No, sir. That's not the education you fucking need. Mr. Obama, however, told the same two gentlemen, or at least their equivalents in 2008, to get fucked.
Well, you would think that he... it looks like he didn't listen. Trump anyway. I mean,
well, no, actually, Trump did listen. He did listen. He doesn't necessarily agree, but he did fucking listen. Because if he hadn't listened, we'd be having there'd be a whole lot more violence going on than there is right now.
Oh, I may be okay. Who doesn't have a headset on here? I may be burning a bridge here, but maybe it would have been a good thing if he hadn't listened. That would have, opened the opportunity to get him off the presidency in the form of an impeachment, maybe.
Well, to be perfectly
okay, well, but who would be then? Then we would have Mike Pence as a as a president. I don't know what would be worse, but I have a tendency to think he's better.
For the record, Mr. Pence is not better. And Mr. Pence was selected in essence because he makes a damned good insurance policy.
Huh? How?
You think I'm bad? Wait till you get this guy. He's way worse. Than
that way. Okay. Yeah. I mean, again, I have no knowledge about politics, practically anyway. But the few words that I have heard from Mike, what I've heard from Mike Pence himself, it sounds like he's more normal than Trump.
He's actually not. He is actually thoroughly thoroughly evangelical, and he's so far to the right as to make Mr. Trump look like a social justice warrior.
Yeah.
Think about it.
I do know that
Jenny American will have to say as well, Mike Pence is from Indiana. That just explains it. Indiana is the deep south of the north.
Yeah. If I remember Mike Pence's wiki page correctly, he is not a creationist, but he is a very, very firm believer in Christianity anyway. But he does at least sound more smart than Trump in terms of constantly lying and constantly breaching the First Amendment.
Okay, first off, Mr. Pence has absolutely no problem with stripping the First Amendment out from under the left.
Man.
And
done.
Yes.
When has Trump ever violated the First Amendment that I'm not aware of?
And yes, you are
he
right.
has done so many times, actually.
Bo,
in tweets, in speech talks. Yeah.
And Bo, you are right that Mike Pence is smarter than Trump. That's not a good thing in this context, however.
Yeah, okay. No. Okay.
So, give me an example, though, of where he's violated the First Amendment.
Well, he has, there's so many examples of it, but you could look up
here's the thing, Bo.
His tweets. He talks about God in his speeches that he was.
They all do.
That he has
all have ever.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well,
that's not a violation of the First Amendment, though, Bo. The First Amendment is there is no direct wording in the Constitution that there is a firm separation of church and state. It is the interpretation of Congress that there was not going to be one. But
what I'm talking about here is that.
But it doesn't prevent people from expressing their beliefs, and that even as an elected official, they can express their belief. They just cannot impose their belief on other people.
One another.
No, but
you can be religious, but you just can't impose your religion through force of law.
And
that's what it comes down to.
No, but and I'm fine with someone being in a position of power who is also a Christian or a Muslim or whatever it is. That's not my point. The point is if he is acting in a capacity, if he's if he's having a speech or something like that, if he even mentions God in any type of way, then he is violating it because you're not allowed. If he specifically mentions the God from the Bible somehow or the Quran, for example, then he is
not in our context, not in the context of the U.S.
I need to break in here for a second because you've got it all backwards. One, putting a statement, God bless us all or what the fuck ever, is a convention.
And that's fine. I mean, that's
forever.
Oh,
Stop.
yeah,
Wait for it. Wait for it. Mr. Trump, in reality, is less religious than you are, or I am, or Jay, or probably anybody in this fucking room, and 2/3 of the people that listen to us. Okay, he is also, and another just really entertaining little tidbit. Mr. Trump, prior to the 2016 election, was a registered Democrat going all the way back into his 20s.
Mm-hmm.
He spent half a century, damn near, as a registered Democrat. He switched Republicans so he could run. He couldn't take Hillary. He knew he wasn't going to be able to take Hillary because Hillary had effectively by that time already had the nomination handed to her. So what's he do? He goes slightly over to the other side, and he's always been kind of a centrist anyway. But he went from left ascribing himself on the left to ascribing himself on the right, and the entire planet is the fuck up. The man's a showman, first and foremost.
Oh yeah.
Okay, he's willing to play the distraction game, but the one thing that he has managed to do is not actually lie about anything.
Well, that's in chapter 1 of How to Be a Politician. How to lie without actually lying.
Okay, at this point, if you could, okay, you need to find what I want here from you, Bo, is a specific instance in which Mr. Trump himself violated the First Amendment.
Well, I have to say that what I just said earlier, I mean, how to lie without actually lying. I think that's the same thing that you just said.
He violated the First Amendment on any number of occasions. I want one concrete example, one only.
Yeah, and I do have to it's not concede, but retract my statement earlier. I just looked it up, the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Congress shall not. And I don't know if it's also it depends on how you
even the executive cannot
it.
do it. The judiciary branch cannot do it. No part of government can establish an official religion.
Exactly.
At the same time, no law could prevent someone from expressing
their religion.
either. So, and that's the thing. It's like a politician is well within their own rights and stuff to express their own religious opinion. They just, like I said, they just would not be able to implement it through law.
No.
Yeah.
And to get to a Squirrel's question there, what is it? Inauguration? The event where he's officially acknowledged as the president? Is that that's what it's called? Right? Yeah. Where I mean, if someday it's a Muslim becoming a president, it would be on the Quran that he would be sworn in. I would imagine.
Exactly right.
That to me is completely fine, as long as they also accept that no book will be used to sworn anyone in if they're an atheist, for example. The thing that I was thinking about in terms of being a breach of the First Amendment.
Believe it or not, we actually have a provision for an atheist president. They will actually be sworn in on the first volume of the United States Code.
Of the what? First United States what?
The United States Code.
The first volume of it.
First book of laws.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. I
don't know. I would think that would be acceptable. I'd certainly accept that.
The event that one of the events that I've now I remember more about it in terms of me thinking that this is a breach of the First Amendment was it was a signing event in the Oval Office. I can't remember in what relation it was, but you saw either before or just after the signing, probably before. They had some type of a priest or something like that, a religious person in any kind. Having everybody bow down, and he would hold his hand on his either Trump's shoulder or head and pray for the president. As I said, I can't remember the event exactly, but
he's not the first to do that, though. Other presidents have done that historically. Yeah. The difference is the individual president can have their own religious practices as long as they don't implement it and require it for the citizenry.
Okay, fair enough. It's just that this was something that was done in a official capacity of a president. So, and I just thought that was just completely off.
It's no different than the invocation that having a Muslim perform part of the invocation at the wedding of Harry and Meghan here a while back. It's exactly zero difference. I think that they were probably not
snarky. Yeah, sorry.
that shit. Although it is my opinion that was not the wisest course of action. It was a course of action they chose to take, and therefore you're not talking about a state situation, even though the king or queen is in fact the head of state.
Yeah, but I do now understand the difference. It's about what you impose on your people, not what you do in a specific official capacity.
We're not like France, where they basically have like kind of basically state mandated secularism in government. It's we just kind of have like a barrier between the two.
Well, are supposed to have one anyway.
Well, no, we have a barrier between the two, and it's just the concept of it's a sword that cuts both ways.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't prohibit anything. You can't enforce
anything. But the
anything.
thing is, any of you out there listening that are American citizens, if you could take out your wallet and take a look at any type of a coin or a bill, just look at it. That part, I know why. I know the background of why it says "In God We Trust." I know why it's there now, but wouldn't that be a violation?
No,
actually, because it was still not the establishment of a definitive religion sanctioned by the government.
Now, here's another piece of information that you may not be aware of. The United States government, in and of itself, does not issue currency.
Say what now?
The federal government of the United States is not the one that issues currency. That has been legislated out to the Federal Reserve, who is a private entity that then controls the U.S. Mint.
Okay, we're not talking about a company, but an entity. Or is there a difference?
Actually,
it's like the U.S. Postal Service. It's its own thing. It's part of the federal government, but it is its own entity, its own rules, its own operations.
Federal Reserve is not
funded by the federal government, but is not itself necessarily beholden to the federal government.
That's where I was trying to go with this. It's
okay.
They're the same thing. They're similar. The Postal Service is actually part of the actual federal government itself, but it's a separate entity from the government in the sense that it has to run and operate its own business in and of itself.
But in practical terms, what's the difference?
In practical terms, the post office, as using the post office for example, it is a private corporation which is partially funded.
It's not funded at all by the. It's not funded at all by the government at all.
No, we do actually have appropriations for the post office. Sir.
No, we don't.
Well,
I worked for the post office, Squirrel.
Well,
we haven't been a part. We have not been a part of the funding of the federal government budget since the 1980s.
No, well, okay. The last time I got that. The last time I got that sort of any information in that general direction, and I assumed that it was still true, which is a problem on my part. I should be checking up on these things more often. In the case of the post office, at least, I was still under the impression from the late 70s or early 80s that the post office had its basic operating budget covered by the federal government, and anything else they could make on top of that to expand services and etc. was
nope. That's what they were originally set up to do, but in the 80s they ended up, because they were hemorrhaging so much money due to competition from UPS and FedEx. The government said, "Here's some money. You're done. After this, you're making it all on your own," which is why in the 80s and 90s you had a whole bunch of stamp special issues for like Elvis and things like that going forward.
Now I remember. Okay, I was wondering.
So
now they're in a great place. Now they're in the great place because they're their own corporation, but they're still beholden to all these controls by the federal government.
Yeah, and what really sucks though, what really sucks is for the last 10 years they have been operating in the red because the federal government told them that they have to fund the baby boomers that have been working for the postal service for so long. They have to 100% guarantee all of their retirement funds.
Yep.
So
Huh?
and this upcoming or this new fiscal year for 2019 that just started in October, they the Postal Service said, no, we're done paying on this because we're operating so far into the red that we're not even able to maintain a lot of the vehicles for delivering mail, because technically they are supposed to provide each and every mail carrier with a what they call an LLV, long life vehicle. It's basically an S10 chassis with the mail truck on top of it. But because of having to pay for all this, they haven't been able to maintain them as much as they need to, as well as they're trying to get Ford to create new vehicles for them called flex fuel, basically economy fuel design. So
Yeah, E85
Well-
fuels. They're trying to get them to run almost entirely on E85 now, and that's its own set of problems, just dying to happen.
yep.
It's just, but it does sound strange to me. I mean, to look at how it's done here, the National Broadcasting Corporation is 100% funded by the government. Although
the BBC, did you see what's happening to them? They don't give
Yeah.
a shit.
now there has always been, as far as I can remember anyway, a licensing system where if you have a radio, you have to pay a certain amount of license. If you have a TV, and you have to pay a certain amount of license. The budget that the corporation, the broadcasting corporation, does not get cut. Sorry, the money they use. The amount of money that is not covered by that license is covered by the state, and it's always changing. Now we're working on just getting rid of that shit. I mean, it's not a matter of all taxpayers paying for the budget. It's taxpayers paying for the deficit that they do not get covered from licensing. So we're trying to get rid of that specific licensing. You know, if you get a knock on the door one day and you see these license guys, it's okay. I see you have a TV in the background. Does that thing have a tuner? Okay, now you have to pay for it. You know, it's not all people that automatically just starts paying that license. We're trying to get rid of that stuff. So it's just, there is no licensing crap. It's just all the citizens paying for it via the taxes. But
Our NPR, our national radio broadcast partner, along with PBS, which is also a publicly funded, taxpayer-funded TV service or TV station out here, is partially paid for by taxes and whatever else they can drum up through
Donations and
donation
fundraisers.
drives and stuff.
yeah, and they're not allowed to run ads. That's
Not commercial ads. They can run their own ads and do pretty much year-round fundraising that way. They are not a commercial entity.
Although I will say the PBS drive over Labor Day weekend is always great because you get to watch a lot of Red Dwarf.
yeah. I mean, sadly, there's
Smegging hell.
yeah. I mean, there are too few episodes of it. Sad, but one warning: do not try to find the American version of it. They tried making an American version of it, and it sucked. Just don't even try looking for it.
You mean like the majority of shows that they've tried to do American remakes of?
Top Gear.
Oh, you mean like
That I
Doctor
cannot.
Who movie?
Well, there's the movie called Night Watch, which is a Danish movie that was refilmed or rebooted or whatever you want to call it in America. Remade in America under license. I haven't seen it yet, but I could imagine it's not all that good. Although it did get some good actors on it, but but no, I mean the Danish Postal Service was 100% covered by the government, by the taxpayers. Although
You know what I want to see? You really want to know what I want to see? I want to see the BBC cut loose. Cut loose from the federal government. See how long it survives.
It
Because
won't.
I don't think it will.
Yeah, I don't know, Alan. Are there ads on the on their broadcasts?
There are no adverts on the BBC. The BBC is funded in a very special way by requiring us to buy a license to watch broadcast TV.
Mm-hmm.
I found a way of not having to pay the £150 a year it is. I no longer connect my TV to an aerial, and I just have a Amazon Fire Stick in it, and I watch Netflix, Amazon Prime, another subscription on-demand service.
Yeah.
Plus, we can watch all of the UK terrestrial TV station on-demand services. The only service we can't watch without a TV license is the BBC iPlayer. But other than that, as long as you don't watch a live stream of a TV program, you don't need a license. But they do keep sending us snotty letters every 6 months or so saying, "Why haven't you got a TV license?"
Yeah, and I do believe they still lie and try to convince people that they have these what do you call them? Those licensing
Monitoring
vans where they
programs.
can. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
where they can drive around with a van around with a special aerial on it, so they can detect
yeah.
people.
The cat
That big
Detector
line.
vans.
Yeah, just completely ridiculous. But I mean,
Wait. Yeah. I just have to say,
I
I just have to say something real quick. Shroomy, I'm glad to see you weren't missing for long. You kind of scared the shit out of some of us a few days ago. Shroominati went
Did I-
MIA for a while.
oh yeah, just like Team Skeptic did all of a sudden. Yeah.
Yeah, but he was gone for a couple of months, and we had all kinds. And he was occasionally in communication with us to let us know that no, he wasn't dead. He had shit to do.
Ooh. Oh, phrasing. Okay, just for the fun of it, what is it actually about that one?
It's
The
about
first,
you know,
the first spelling.
the first spelling, not the second spelling, but the editor apparently
yeah,
wasn't paying attention.
No, yeah, I know. Just what is the actual context of it? Is it talking about how to help students?
So what
Yeah,
it
it
is
is. I can't read it.
eager students invade businesses all over Pratt Tuesday, October 24th, as they look for future job opportunities on the Disability Mentoring Day. 97 students from 12 schools. Yeah.
Okay.
I think you need to look at the.
wanted to hear the context of the actual
think you-
article. Yes.
Okay. It's the title you have to pay attention to.
Yeah. Oh, and I did, and it was funny as hell. But I was just curious about the actual context too. But with regards to Alan's issues there, that wouldn't even run in Denmark. It would be, not illegal, but technically it would be unlawful to not pay a TV license if you have a TV as long as it has a receiver in it, a tuner. If it doesn't have a tuner, then it's okay. It doesn't matter if you have any aerials or anything like that. If it has a tuner, that's what they look at. But the thing is, that wouldn't even matter because I can't remember how many years ago it was, but they introduced a new law that they sneaked in access to the internet as one of the as one of the criteria for having to pay a license.
Yeah,
Because of
they've
the
been trying
streaming
to throw
services.
that one in on us, but
Yeah,
they haven't
that
managed
too.
to do it yet.
No.
Turned out they would need primary legislation to do that, and they'd never get it
Yeah,
through
worst.
Parliament.
Yeah, and I can't remember the state. I'm not sure about the status of how it is now here, but it was just a major fail.
Wasn't that
Just
part
stop
of
the
what?
funding.
Wasn't that part of what sparked the whole net neutrality thing?
Oh yeah.
I have
Yeah,
no
part
idea,
of it.
but just even the word net neutrality, you would think that when you talk about net neutrality, that's a good thing because it means that ISPs aren't allowed to throttle anything except for not for people not paying their bills.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah, sure. Or reaching the limit,
A data
the
cap, yeah.
download and upload. Yeah, a data cap. That's fine too, but other things, I mean, that's just no. To even have that being, I mean, how can the FCC allow that to happen? They spearheaded it, as I remember it.
Because
Wow,
of
what the
different
hell?
administration.
No, for this net neutrality stuff to go down the drain.
It's
Or,
because it's in
sorry,
a different administration.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That has to be bad, just per definition, apparently.
That's pretty much what it is. Is it's
Because
it's
because internet providers can throw a lot of money at politicians. Is what it comes down to.
Yeah. No. And yes, it's laughable, but it's probable.
Yeah, that's
It's
just
a
the reality
probable
of it.
cause.
You know.
Yeah. So stupid. And in the EU we have the what's it called, GDPR or N something. The meme, the meme ban.
Oh,
I
yes.
think I've heard somebody call it.
Article 13.
Article.
Or no, it's
yeah.
Article 13 is the meme ban, and Article 11 is fuck your internet. We want people to play nice.
No. Article 11, I think, is the links for news services.
That would be the
Yeah, I
meme
think
ban. I'm sorry.
I think it's the 13, but I'm not sure.
Luckily,
But,
right
I mean-
now, however, we still have enough competition in our providers overall. I mean, not necessarily in all areas, all specific areas of the country.
Exactly.
We have enough
that's probably
competition
the-
overall in our amongst our providers that none
Well,
of them have really
I think
gone
that-
too far with anything.
No, but I think that would be the issue all over the world. I mean, you want to use a certain service provider, regardless of what it is, because you're used to them, you like their services and so on, but you just can't because they don't have any cables run under the pavement in your area. And who laid down the cables that are
Yeah.
there?
Well, see, that's not
competing
that
companies.
is true in some places in the U.S., but not everywhere. I happen to be in an area, for example, where if I wanted to change high-speed service providers, I could do it. I have
I
choices.
can't.
Yeah. So,
I
but
can't even get dial-up in this place,
Yeah.
man. The only thing I've got is the damn cell modem.
it doesn't apply everywhere, but it applies enough places in the country that we still means we still have service providers that are in competition with one another. They might not have to compete where Croco Squirrel is, but they have to compete somewhere else. So
Well, in the U.S., phone lines were installed or put down, whatever it's called, by the government in some capacity originally, I would imagine, or subcontracted.
the phone lines themselves, no, most of the original ones went down through Mabel. So
Okay, but not under a subcontract from the government in any
No.
or the federal government
Nope.
or whatever. Oh, okay, I just thought so. I mean, that's the biggest ISP and telephone provider and mobile phone provider in Denmark is called UC. That they're owned by TDC, which is originally a 100% government. I shouldn't say company, but just like the U.S. Postal Service, I imagine, it's run by the government back then. So that the all the places where they had originally put down, phone lines or internet lines in the form of ISDN, no company, no business, in other words, private business could play monopoly on them. But when the government-owned provider was sold off to as a company, so now it's no longer controlled by the government. It was an actual company that was allowed to make money. Then it went down. Then it went down the drain. When I lived in Copenhagen, I could not get the ISP that I wanted, and every single time I demanded the reason for why I couldn't was because that the company was because of the specific company who owned the copper on my street, and they didn't want to to rent out the capacity to other companies. They were required to by law, but they didn't want to, and they didn't. And for some reason, they were able to what shall I say, bend the rules or bend the interpretation of the of the contract or whatever it's called to not get sued for it.
Yeah,
thankfully we don't have that issue anymore.
We have a shit ton of ISPs we can pick from, but they all use the same copper,
or
which
fiber.
is
Yeah.
Well, we only have fiber to the cabinet, so the last several hundred meters is copper.
Back to copper, yeah.
And there's only the one company owns them all, and that is still a subsidiary of what was the former nationalized post office telephone system. So you can pay your bill to whoever you like, but you're going to get your cable through. You're going to get your connection through the same cable. And as I discovered when talking to one of the engineers last year, even if I took advantage of the new high-speed fiber to the cabinet that is at the end of my lane, because I'm still having the signal come down the same final bit of copper, I won't get faster than the about 2 megs that I get now.
Oh dear. Well, before I switched to the type of connection that I have now, which is cable through my cable TV. I'm talking about my internet connection here. I was using actual copper, which was great because I live on a street that still has some very old mains wiring, power, sorry. And especially during the summer, we get outages every now and then because the 250 amp fuses just burn out way too often. So I have a UPS that's more than capable of running everything in my home. And since I had, an internet connection based on phone lines, it wouldn't break down because the junction boxes and the way it's routed, that would not break down. So I would still have internet connection. But now, since I use cable instead, I don't have any internet connection when it breaks down, except for mobile broadband. But at least I do have a 20 gig cap on that one, cheap, but still.
Yeah,
advantages and disadvantages.
I have a generator, so.
Yeah. And I just have 2 huge batteries from that was previously installed in a battery room for a server farm.
Well, here's a question for you, Tech. You have the generator. Open or close transfer?
Programmable, actually. I can do it.
You can do either? Ooh. I like that kind of switchgear.
Okay. Yeah, so going skimpy on it.
That's it's great too, because like a lot of times when if you get a standby generator, you kind of have to choose at the beginning like what circuits you want to put on it.
Unless you are able to size it appropriately.
Well, I'm talking about unless you do if you size it appropriately, you put all the circuits on it.
And also, if you live if you're in a place that has a lot of brownouts and a lot of noise on the power lines.
But of course, let's say you get a large enough generator to power every circuit in your house at the same time. If you're doing that, it means you're also using more power, using more fuel.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, because it takes more money.
Right.
Power to keep it running all the time actively.
So if I in the in the winter I can put heat on it and take the summer I can put AC on it. I can change what circuit I want on it whenever at different times of the year.
Nice. Oh,
Is
it's
that-
like the
is that
smart
gasoline?
load.
Is that a gas generator, or is that natural gas or propane, or?
Or petrol.
I'm on propane,
Yikes.
so we don't have natural gas service in my area.
Well, just saying petrol bowl, Bo. It could be regular gasoline or it could be diesel.
Yeah, but here's the thing: when you say especially for generators, installed backup generators in your home, to say it's powered by gas, that could either be actual gas or gasoline. And gas is in a gaseous state when it comes out of the thing.
Yeah,
They're either going to be they're either going to be diesel or they're going to be natural gas or liquefied propane. So.
One or more of the above.
Yeah, well,
The natural
would say
gas
that
and
the
liquefied
best thing would-
propane are interchangeable, so you can run them one or the other.
But hey, from a longevity standpoint, fuel in a gaseous state would be the best thing, as I understand. I mean, the internal combustion motor was, I think, designed for to be run on gas, as in not a liquid.
Vapor. That's why
Yeah,
the
vapor,
That's why the injector nozzles of car engines are designed the way they are.
Well, that's what a carburetor is supposed to do. It's a well operating carburetor is supposed to give you that perfect 14.7 to 1 ratio of air to gasoline.
Carburetor is so backwards and so low tech.
What?
Hey, direct injection. Well, okay,
Yeah.
I do like the sound of a real engine, but still.
Hey, there ain't nothing that sounds like a small block Chevy.
I'll take my 90-degree L twin Ducati any day.
Of course.
How much can you haul with that?
All I need to haul is me, and it can fucking go.
But where do you store your ham radio gear and all the nerdy stuff? It makes no sense.
I ride that to get
All the
away
electronics.
from things for a while.
Yeah. Well, all I have to do if I want to do that is just put a backpack on and walk right from my home. There's a forest right next to me. I can get far enough away so I can't hear any type of city-related sound
Walk
at all.
or
Yeah, just
go
start walking,
go
yeah.
cruising with the sound of a twin at your back.
Well,
Well, to each his own, I guess.
yeah. Well, I got a 74 Chevy pickup that has been my daily truck for years and years and years, and it was my dad's daily truck for decades. But I finally lost compression in the number 5, and so I had to go buy another truck. And I came to realize, so I bought a big truck, a big truck that can tow. And I thought, okay, I'm going to keep the Chevy around, as my general purpose truck. I'm going to rebuild the engine, keep it around as my general purpose truck, and only use the big Ford for towing. And then it dawned on me, the Ford can haul more. It can tow more, and it gets better fuel economy than that Chevy does. And I thought, well, I don't know, maybe it's time to retire the Chevy, and then I thought about it again, and I went, wait a minute, the Chevy has one advantage over that Ford. It's got a carburetor in it. There's nothing on that truck I can't fix. carburetor, engine, transmission, rear end, nothing. I can fix I can tear that whole damn thing apart and put it back together again. And that's just one advantage of the older vehicles that you just can't do with the newer ones.
They're also EMP safe.
So,
Not
what?
to be. No, yeah, I'm not trying to be, a scaremonger, but they are EMP safe, electromagnetic
yeah.
pulses.
Oh,
So
yeah.
either a meteor strike, or a bomb going off.
I'm not sure what one of those would do to the coil.
It might.
You'd be fine.
It
If
might.
it's not energized, might burn over maybe, or burn the copper off. But
Well, that would be my only concern is the coil and the alternator.
well, it would depend if it's active or
Yeah, the alternator would be fine as long as you're not running the engine at the time that it hits. The coil is the question.
Actually, believe it or not, even then, the coils can be remagnetized.
Yeah.
I would think that the fact that it's virtually inside a Faraday cage should pretty much keep it safe.
Yeah, that's
Mostly,
true.
yeah.
Yeah, that's another problem with modern cars that now, I mean, they've been making body work with, the body parts of the, what do you call it? Carrosserie is what we call in Denmark.
Carbon
The sheet
fiber.
metal stuff. Yeah, they start making that in carbon fiber or glass fiber or even plastic, which
Aluminum.
Aluminium.
The lightweight composite materials.
Aluminium is fine, but if you use carbon fiber, well, no, it's too expensive to make that electrically conductive in any sensible way, anyway. But
Mine's mostly steel, so whatever.
Yeah, but having a car covered with carbon fiber, glass fiber, or plastic is not a good thing in that regard. If that would be if somebody threw a bomb at you, it wouldn't be a good thing.
Or even just a lightning bolt.
Well,
Seeing
yeah,
as
that
how
too.
metal cars are probably the safest place to be in a lightning storm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
or if someone, we don't need to name him, but were to make a huge mistake with his Tesla coil. I'm still.
You know what?
I'm still collecting parts to make one for myself. But
You should ask him about the heating system inside the bus.
did he mess it up?
It's creative to say the least.
Why does that not surprise me?
It's surprising what low-tech solutions to high-tech problems can be sometimes. I bring it up often, but still, it's relevant here. The Copenhagen Suborbitals, the society, a club whose sole reason for being in existence is to design, build, and launch a rocket with a human in there inside of it into low Earth orbit and get back safe. One of their test rockets a few years ago, they had a problem with a valve that is operated by a solenoid, I think it was, but it just wouldn't work because it was always frozen. So what's if it was a high budget testing, what would you do? I would just buy a ridiculously expensive valve and use that instead. Or in this case, you would just go to a local shop and buy a blow dryer, one of those small travel blow dryers, those cheap ones, and stick that in there and be done with it. And that's what they actually did. I think it's the Heat X1 they did that with. I think they even wrote an article about it on their webpage.
Hey, there's an old saying.
Sorry.
There's an old saying: if it's stupid but it works, it's not stupid.
What the?
Did you?
What? Now what?
Shall I share it for everybody?
You might as
wait,
well.
wait. Before we show it, let's put a little context to it. So this is from Psystrike's Discord server. The person who posted it is Peter.
Oh no!
You are
That
warned.
alone tells me it's bad.
You have been
Sometimes in a
warned.
good way.
When I came back to it after I told Jared about this, it had gotten a nauseated face from the
Oh
from
shit!
the inspiration, the muse for this
Hey,
picture.
Karis. Where's Karis?
You know what? She's around. She can get in here.
Oh man, I'm sure that Sai will reluctantly show it on tonight's stream.
Oh, I doubt it.
I doubt he will even come
Yeah,
close
he
to
doesn't
sharing
want
it.
to get demonetized.
Well,
Oh dear Lord.
what do you mean
There-
demonetize? But
There
I
are
am,
some-
by the way, really looking forward to that live stream. Finally, I get to talk to
That Rob
Christina.
Schema.
No, Christina Santiago. Oh man, that was good.
But yeah.
That kind of
But
looked like
if
Rob
it's from
Schema.
Peter, you know what to expect. Thankfully, I do not remember what he looks like, so. And no, I do not need a reminder. But then again, thankfully, most likely, I will forget what he looks like less than a minute after I see a picture of him.
Well, yeah, the alcohol helps.
In my case, what
Oh, yeah,
alcohol?
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh boy. No. Yeah. But I haven't gotten around to build my own Tesla coil yet, but I have almost all the parts I need to. Still need to buy a roll of 2 rolls of copper, but besides that, I'm almost ready. I have my high voltage power supply. That's not a problem, but
High voltage power supplies are easy. Getting
and
a
no
correct,
microwave power supply is not enough.
getting a proper step down transformer done correctly is a much bigger pain in the ass.
Step down. Who needs a step down? No. Yeah. No. Thankfully, I recently got hold of a neon transformer. The sad part is it has plenty of voltage, but no current.
Oh,
Yeah, well, that's the way that's supposed to work.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the weak ones. It's the old style one, so it has, what is it, 14 milliamp? Yeah, 14 milliamps or something. Can't remember. There's no markings on it at all. But they're so hard to come by these days. I mean, we don't have easy access to Amazon or Craigslist, so we have to do other things here in Denmark. I mean, there's practically no neon signs around at all anymore. So it's becoming increasingly harder. What you could use is old CRT monitors or TVs and get the flyback transformers. You could use those for weak as weak power supplies, but just no. Okay, that guy kind of looked like Adam Sandler. It's not him, but it does look like him a little bit.
It looks entirely too cheery to be a proper boot camp company commander.
Oh no,
Jimmy,
they
real talk.
love fucking with the boots.
But
Well,
why is he
You
smiling?
clearly
That
have never
looks
met my
wrong.
company commanders.
There are 3 things.
what-
My dad, before I went in the service, my dad told me that there are 3 things that I will never ever forget. One is the date that I.
Nice. Sorry. Hey, I was an assistant at a protected workshop. For physically
Wow.
and mentally
How heavy
handicapped
is
people.
that dude?
I've seen that happen.
I've seen it happen. I'm surprised they can find a uniform to fit his ass.
Anyways, as you
Of
were
course,
saying,
this is a
Main
reference to the American Army, but yeah.
Yeah, skeptic.
Apparently
What
not much.
happened to be what happened to the 20 minutes? Which, by the way, Main Gun, as you were saying, things that you would never forget.
Oh yeah, he said there's 3 things I would never forget. He told me this the day before I shipped out to boot camp. He said the first is the date you ship out to boot camp. The second is your senior drill instructor's face, and the third is your platoon number.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't forgotten the day
wait.
I shipped out to boot camp, have I?
No, you haven't, but I would have to disagree with one of them. My senior RDC was barely around because the reindeer games were going on while I was there.
Oh dear.
The what?
The Chiefs initiation, the reindeer games. And my senior RDC was a chief, a snipe chief at that. So she was off.
geez.
She was off having fun for the majority of the time in training.
My senior
Good luck.
company commander. I'm still friends with him on Facebook. So.
Well,
That good or bad in this case?
No, good actually.
my senior drill instructor, my senior company commander. Oh jeez, that guy was a dick. He was an ST1.
Let's see, a special technician.
Sonar.
Sonar
What it
tech.
means? Sonar tech.
But
Okay.
he was surface, not sub.
Ah, so he was STG.
Yeah.
That sounds like something you don't want to get. No, wait, that's an STD. Sorry, close.
My senior company commander was OSCSW Manuel Miller.
You know, I can't remember his first name, but the first RDC that comes to mind that I had was OS1 Frazee. And
Oh jeez.
crazy Frazee. He was entertaining, to say the least.
As opposed to Specialist Schwartz.
So when you think of an OS, what is the typical image that comes to mind?
You're talking about a wiry, freaking mousy sort of creature with that's wearing glasses. It's designed to reduce eye strain.
Close. He was shorter, but he was stout. Bald head, glasses. Yeah. Typical screen stare.
Wow. You know what the sad part is? I think I've actually met that guy. Actually, I know him. I seem to remember calibrating someone of that description.
Oh God, what's this?
I won't hit on the OSs. Technically, as a submarine FT, I was part OS. So.
My condolences. The difference is that an FT actually has some concept of what the hell's going on and knows what how a radar unit is supposed to be set. So I don't have to worry about them.
Yeah.
It's
Well, we fixed
straight
our. Yeah,
OSs that are continually adjusting their shit and getting it wrong.
yeah. We fixed our own equipment. So.
Well, holy shit!
I will tell you right
Wait,
now. The place
wait.
The place I hated most on the carrier was the CIC. God damn it! I hated that place.
Moment of silence, because look who the fuck finally showed up.
Huh?
Yeah, I saw Team Skeptic come in.
Yeah, still moving.
Wow. Dude,
But
where
I
you
did give
been?
him the.
In 20 minutes of
we tell
talk.
him I was just gonna say, isn't this where we tell them we're shutting down for the night?
Oh,
Hey,
we're
I
almost there.
And unfortunately, I made the mistake of giving him a plausible excuse in the YouTube chat for those 20 minutes. But so, let's see what he says when he finally dries his client off or whatever he does. And opens his mic.
Wait. Go back one. The Army gets one too? I knew the Air Force does.
Give me a second, guys. I'm plugging in my headphones so I can hear y'all.
Actually, believe it or not, when I went in, they actually gave us those too.
Yeah, I got one too when I was in.
Well, the boot camp ribbon for the Navy at the time I went through was the National Defense ribbon. I'm not talking about that one.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a legitimate boot camp completion one. The Air Force has it.
Oh yeah, the Army gets one too. The Army gets one too. You would
What?
think wearing the fucking uniform
Would
is
be-
enough to go, yes. I
Yeah,
completed
being
boot camp."
away from an RTC uniform, that generally tends to indicate that you made it out of boot camp, and should have
that's-
should have at least some limited level of respect. But then, from what I hear about the Army, they're still doing all the boot camp shit clear through to the time they make sergeant. Like fuck.
Welcome to the Army.
Hello.
Well, I got a friend of mine's
you're good.
daughter who's a combat medic right now, and she's got a whole stack of ribbons on her chest and hasn't been 400 miles away from home yet.
Oh,
The
God
fuck?
damn.
Dude,
I just from boot camp as a conscript. The only difference between all we got when we were when we came through the Hell Week, almost a week, was that we were allowed to wear the company patch. That was all. That was it. Nothing more. Just we were allowed to. There was no parade or anything. It's just okay, good going, guys, and just a small recognition of getting a. We were throwing a party with some good food and all that, but that was it. There was no ribbons, no medals, or anything stupid like that.
See,
When did-
something like that makes sense to me.
we didn't even get a fucking party, bastard.
Well, pay and all paid, dinner and party, but we were included was one beer or one shot. We would have to pay for the drinks ourselves after that, but still all paid. Yeah, great food too, not just the local cafeteria. It was good food, catering.
See,
You guys- you guys-
But it was back in '97,
Yeah.
so.
what I find kind of funny, going back to the whole ribbon and awards thing, is I just filled up my second row when I got out.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. 6 individual ribbons on my chest after 6 years in. That's it.
Well, British forces, you only get a ribbon if you actually do a
Something.
deployment to a combat zone, or you've done more than 12 years service.
I got you beat by 2.
So for my 9 years service,
Hey, wait a minute.
without an
That-
operational deployment, I got no ribbons or medals or anything,
I may be wrong,
and that
but
was pretty much
guy in
standard
the-
for most of us.
Okay, you know
That-
what, guys? I'm not gonna talk about what I'm not even gonna talk about my dress uniform from when I had to go back and forth to fucking Washington. I don't want to talk about it. I just no.
Well, no, go for it.
Let's see. No, just the picture that's up on the screen right now. I do believe that is a Danish king. That guy. I remember there's one of the Danish kings that was not a navy, but he was a seaman. It was a navy thing, but he was covered in tattoos. He was proud of it. He loved showing his upper torso.
So he
it just
was.
reminded me of him.
So he was the Vladimir Putin of his day.
And I start thinking, memes. Oh no.
Okay. All right, guys, I'm gonna bail out now. I gotta get kids off my laptop and into their beds.
All right, have fun.
Good luck with that, squirrel.
Take it easy,
Yeah.
squirrel.
Yeah, well, you can hear them in the background having an argument. It's time for me to go correct this problem.
Oh, shit. Run, kids, run!
I recommend that they start running now. All right.
Yeah.
I'll catch you guys later. Yeah, Bo, I'll be here next Friday too. I may be late like I was today, but I will be here.
Oh, I'm so safe now.
Well, you asked during the
Here you go,
you
Ming
asked
Dan.
during the sushi.
Yeah, I know.
We don't have to do pull-ups for Navy either. So
It's fine. That's fine. You can't do a pull-up, kid. I'll show you where the Air Force recruiter is. Hashtag shots fired. Okay.
But no, that getting
We didn't have
ribbons or medals for boot camp stuff. I mean, that's just when a country's military starts implementing the participation awards, the country is lost.
Yeah, I feel the same pain
yes.
there, Jared.
Oh, that is harsh. But if you're dumb enough to agree to it, you
Exactly.
deserve it.
Yeah, right.
Why can't I find any full frame pictures?
I was in submarines. What's a BM again?
Yeah. So, you know the people who were typically seen
I
dangling
know what a
over
BM is. I'm joking.
Okay, something looks wrong in that picture.
What?
I was just like,
isn't there? I can't see his name tag, but shouldn't his name tag be on his over his heart? In other words, on the same side that the U.S. Army
No.
tag is.
No.
It's going to be on the other side.
Okay, fair enough.
It's blocked by his arm.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just thought it was the other way around. So
From the
had to get-
reference of the
it took a-
body, from the reference of the wearer, name is on the right chest. The branch is on the left chest, and if you're wearing the flag goes on the right arm.
yeah, unless it's yeah.
I love
Unless
that last.
it's your combat dress. You can have
Here you
your
go for a brief period of
flag.
time.
That to civilians
Wait.
looks like it's pointing in the wrong direction, but it actually isn't.
Yeah, that's because people who
Because
don't
we're
know.
running
Now-
towards someone and not instead of fleeing.
I have a question about this one. So I remember seeing that nav admin where they were essentially getting rid of the rate designations and going to
Yep.
that numeric code. They
Yeah.
stopped it already?
yeah.
Oh yeah, they stopped it about a month and a half, 2 months later because of all the vets were complaining about it, all the active duty people were complaining about it, so they
You mean
put
they
a stop to it.
You mean they realized that by listening to the service members and former service members, it was a bad fucking idea?
Yeah, it's like I
Holy
remember.
crap.
I remember I was talking about. I think it was hilarious. Talking about like, it's like. I remember like one of the reasonings was, it was hard for people to transition out of the military force because they would have to describe what they did. And I'm sitting there like, how is this chain going from a rate to some arbitrary numerical code making
Well,
any
it's
change?
totally
You know?
related. I mean,
Well,
come on.
here's the
Can't you see
thing.
that?
If you couldn't explain it before, you're not going to be able to explain it afterwards. What the-
That's just it. Is like when I was getting out, they were talking about because we were dealing with not just at my base, not just the Navy separation people, TAPS people. We were dealing with the Marines, Army, and Air Force that were coming up from JBLM as well, Joint Base Toulouse and McCord, and they were like, okay, how many of you are in the Navy? And those of us raised our hand. They're like, okay, you guys are gonna have a harder time getting a job anywhere because your job, you guys are used to calling it by your rate, so like Nav ET, and this is what I do. Whereas, Army, Air Force, and Marines usually have an MOS, which the Office of Personnel Management has job code listings that it's a lot easier to transition an MOS to an OPM number, job classification number. So I always thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, and that's actually where instead of just looking at the rate, you look at the NECs,
I know.
and that's fucking retarded. So the Navy version of the MOS is the NEC, the Naval Enlisted Code, which is the actual training specification that you got.
My primary NEC was FT 1179.
Here you go, Jared.
So you are the new one. Yeah, after 2 years and with Milper's approval.
Yep. Yeah, I was gonna say, Mangan, you might like that one.
All right. Have I read you guys the or have you seen the enlistment oaths for the different branches of the service?
Not the different branches, no. Is there? Wait a minute, joke.
When we did our oath, we were in with all sorts of different. I mean, we all.
No, I know where he's going with this. I haven't seen it, but I know where he's going.
It took a second. We got to see.
Oh, was it like
this.
a joke thing?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. Okay.
Yeah. The well, you want me to read the first one?
Go for it.
First one's Coast Guard. All right. I state your name. Swear to sign away 4 years of my life to the United States Coast Guard because I know being in the real military scares me. However, I swear to defend our position as the 5th branch of the armed services, although at one point we were under the Department of Homeland Security. I understand that at least twice a day someone will refer to me as a member of the Air Force or Navy, and when I correct them, they will question my military status. I will work on boats the size of kayaks and small yachts during the worst of nature's storms and receive no thanks or notice from the public. I will fly in helos into the eye of the storm to rescue people dumber than rocks, and then be heckled by the same people when I bust them for transporting drugs 2 months later. I will prevent thousands of gallons of pollution, but be accused of impeding the economy when I won't allow vessels to pour oil into the ocean. I will be the redhead stepchild to all the other services, although...
Yep.
Although I know I got the better deal. All of my equipment will be discarded Navy property. I will use most of my time in the Coast Guard to take college classes and perfect my web surfing abilities, then complain when I work too much. I will perfect avoiding PT at all costs and do my best to attend training that will give me a great competitive edge in the career field of my choice, making retention efforts of the Coast Guard pointless. I will come in contact with so many pollutants during my tenure, I will glow in the dark for the rest of my natural life and refer to myself as salty because of it. I will do my best to work 8 to 3 with a 2-hour lunch on normal days and have my pager and cell phone surgically attached, so help me God.
Hey, the avoiding PT at all costs, that's a universal thing. Well,
Yeah,
if
right.
you were if you were a conscript, I realized that you guys never had that in the U.S., but still, when you were forced into service without actually going to war, that's a discipline. You do what you can to not do PT.
All right, we got Air Force, Army, Navy, or Marine Corps.
Let's do the Air Force.
All right, Air Force.
Luxury guys.
State your name. Swear to sign away 4 years of my life to the United States Air Force because I know I couldn't hack it in the Army, because the Marines frighten me, and because I'm afraid of water over waist deep. I swear to sit behind a desk. I also swear not to do any real form of exercise, but promise to defend our bike riding test as a valid form of exercise. I promise to walk around calling everyone by their first name because I find it amusing to annoy the other services. I will have a better quality of life than those around me and will at all times be sure to make them aware of the fact. After completion of basic training, I will be a lean, mean, donut-eating, lazy boy-sitting, civilian-wearing, blue clothes, chair-borne ranger. I will believe I am superior to all others and make an effort to clean the knife before stabbing the next person in the back. I will annoy those around me and will go home early every day. So help me God.
Sounds about
Signature
right.
date.
Now, why do I get the distinct
And we
feeling?
know we're superior, by the way.
Why do I get the distinct feeling that this was authored by a Marine?
Oh, I'm saving the Marine for last.
Oh, well, yeah, Marines last.
No,
Let's-
but
let's-
authored by Marines. This whole thing.
Oh no, this could be authored by all the branches themselves because
Individually.
I've heard Air Force people rip on their own branch like this and wear it like a badge of honor. It's like, well, yeah, why do you think I joined this?
Where was the mention of the staying in the 5-star hotels? 'Cause
Living.
That's way
at
up
the
there
golf
on the
courses.
RAF requirements.
Well, that is under the have a better
Quality
quality
of
of
living.
life and
Okay,
letting
fair enough.
everyone know about it.
Absolutely.
I mean, and I haven't really heard any deliberately offensive things yet. I haven't heard any yet. It's just the usual. What do you call it? Adversarial heckling stuff.
Here you go, Jared.
Oh yeah.
It could do better, I think.
The Mick Pawn has never had to fix any of my ribbons when I met him.
Okay, Army or Navy?
Army.
Army.
Yay. Let's see if it relies to me too.
I state your name. Swear to sign away 4 years of my otherwise mediocre life to the United States Army. Because I couldn't score high enough on the ASVAB to get into the Air Force, I'm not tough enough for the Marines, and the Navy won't take me because I can't swim. I will wear camouflage every day and tuck my trousers into my boots because I can't figure out how to use blousing straps. I promise to wear my uniform 24 hours a day, even when I have a date. I will continue to tell myself that I'm a fierce killing machine because my drill sergeant told me I am, despite the fact that the only action I will see is a court-martial for sexual harassment. I acknowledge the fact that I will make E8 in my first year of service and vow to maintain that it is because I scored perfect on my PT test. After completion of my basic training, I will attend a different Army school every other month and return knowing less than I did when I left. On my first trip home after boot camp, I will walk around like I am cool and propose to my 9th grade sweetheart. I will make my wife stay at home because if I let her out, she might leave me for a better-looking Air Force guy. Should she leave me 12 times, I will continue to take her back. While at work, I will maintain a look of knowledge while getting absolutely nothing accomplished. I will arrive to work every day at 1000 because of morning PT and leave every day at 1300 to report back to company. I understand that I will undergo no training whatsoever that will help me get a job up upon separation and will end up working construction with my friends from high school. I will brag to everyone about the Army giving me $30,000 for college, but will be unable to use it because I can't pass a placement exam. So help me God. Signature date.
Okay.
That is a lot of them.
So this one didn't relate to me completely. I mean, we were taught. I was in the air defense, which is part of the artillery, which is the Army. We were taught not combat in water, but we were taught how to swim in full battle dress and also rescue colleagues in full battle dress and that sort of thing. So we do know how to swim, but except for that, yeah, it's okay. It could have been more. It could have been worse. Let's say.
Okay. Okay.
Jeez.
Navy. I, Top Gun, in lieu of going to prison, swear to sign away 4 years of my life to the United States Navy because I want to hang out with Marines without actually having to be one of them, because I thought the Air Force was too corporate, and because I didn't actually want to live in the dirt like the Army, and because I thought, Hey, I like to swim. Why not? I promised to wear clothes that went out of style in 1976 and to have my name stenciled on the butt of every pair of pants I own. I understand that I will be mistaken for the Good Humor Man during the summer and for Nazi Waffen SS during the winter.
What?
I will
Scheiße.
I will strive to use a different language than the rest of the English-speaking world, using words like deck, bulkhead, cover, gedunk, scuttlebutt, scuttle, and head, when I really mean floor, wall, hat, candy, water fountain, hole in wall, and toilet. I will take pride in the fact that all Navy acronyms, rank, and insignia, and everything else for that matter, are completely different from the other services and make absolutely no sense whatsoever. I will muster, whatever that is, at 0700 every morning, unless I am buddy-buddy with the chief, in which case I will show up around 0930. I vow to hone my coffee cup handling skills to the point that I can stand up in a kayak being tossed around in a typhoon and still not spill a drop. I consent to being promoted and subsequently busted at least twice per fiscal year. I realize that once selected for chief, I am required to submit myself to the sick and quite possibly illegal whims of my newfound colleagues. So help me Neptune. Signature date.
Love it.
Pretty accurate.
Okay. And finally, Marines. I pick a name the police won't recognize. Swear, high and tight, grunt, camis, kill, fix bayonets, charge, slash, dig, burn, blow up, Air Force women, beer, sailor wives, airstrikes, yes sir, whiskey, liberty call, salute, hoorah, gunny, grenades, women, hoorah, no help me, Chesty Puller, thumbprint, teeth marks.
What was that?
There's no even signature.
Hey guys, I have to run real quick. I'll be on Side Strikes movie night tonight with you guys. Jared, are you gonna be there?
For a little bit.
Okay, cool. I'll see you guys there.
Bye.
Fucking oh my God.
Oh, fuck.
Oh,
It almost sounded like you had a stroke or didn't know what line to read from or something in the beginning. It was just
no.
what the fuck? Oh, what the hell?
nope. That's Marines for you.
That is the
that's
Marines.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Marines,
Yeah, 6 years worth. Yep. Yep, pretty much.
Okay.
So PRT, physical readiness test.
Yeah. But
I loved it when
was-
those were near
I
coming
guessed
back
it
from
was
a
something to do
deployment. It
with-
was always very difficult. So
oh yeah,
I mean, I was sure it had to do with physical exercise. It was just the look on that girl's face.
and they're grabbing that stair climber and that stationary bike as often as possible on the way back from a deployment.
oh yeah.
Ooh, hello. Maybe.
Whoa,
I'm not sure. Oh yeah. okay.
Russians.
I was born in the wrong country. Marine women didn't look
Although-
like that.
Although you should see their drill teams. When we had a tattoo in Denmark many years ago, I mean, they're what the?
Love it.
Nice. There was a couple of different Russian drill teams there. Some of their pompous moves, it was just ridiculous. I mean, it was okay, it looked okay, but it was just no. I mean, those hats they have, it was just what the? I mean, it made them, I don't know, 10 inches taller or something. but they can throw some weapon. They can throw rifles in the air. I mean, the what is it? United States Air Force silent drill team. I think it
Marine
is
Corps. Marine Corps.
Marine Corps. Yeah, and there's a certain drill team. I think it's the Air Force. But then again, I may be wrong. That has one of their signature routines, I think, where they flail their guns. I mean, their rifles. They really throw them high.
Oh,
It was nothing compared to the Russians that I saw. I think
Yeah,
it was in
the silent
in
drill
2010
team
or something.
The silent drill team of the Marines do that.
Yeah, I've actually
Yep.
seen them in person. They are extremely impressive.
Yeah, but what I'm I just can't remember I've seen so many different videos on.
Especially when they're throwing them rifles around with the big sharp pointing stabby bits on the end.
Oh yeah,
And the camera angles are perfect, or your viewing angle is perfect for not being able to see the depth of it.
Jared.
Well, no, I was just laughing about what Heat Shield put into the chat as well. Funny part is there's another 3 paragraphs of the Marines roast available.
But you're only supposed to use the tip, so Heat Shield. Oh boy.
Even if you lose your limbs, you won't have to pay. Yeah, he's not wrong.
Well, it's if you're in a war zone, not just
Yeah.
wartime.
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous. You don't have any taxes. I mean, come on. Compared to the other countries, you don't pay taxes, guys. So it's not much of a boost anyway.
But
now
But when you enlist in a war zone, it's great.
Well, it's extra money, but.
Oh, no. So when we re-enlist, we lose almost half of the entire bonus off the bat unless you re-enlist in a tax-free zone.
Well, there is one thing, one area where one classification where there is a 100% tax, and that is with in the U.S. military veterans, or actually U.S. military retirees. If they go to the VA after they retire and begin receiving compensation for an injury or whatever, for every dollar that the VA pays them in compensation, they get docked $1 in their military retirement pay.
They can't do that.
That's the way. I don't know if they still do that now, but that's the way it used to be, and that was the only 100% tax that I was aware of.
Well,
no,
Jared,
go ahead.
You said they can't do that. I can't remember which channel I put it in, but did you notice what I put in one of the channels earlier today?
That was in the idea box.
Idea
on
box.
the Discord.
Go look at it. If they can do. No. Oh, I'm looking in Science Smell. That doesn't work. Go to look at that. If they can do that to vets, U.S., they could practically do anything.
Well, no,
That sickens me. That stuff.
The whole thing with the pay between disability comp and pen and retirement, the two do not, by the actual instructions, by the legal bits of it, they do not interfere with each other. And if they tried doing that,
I know that's the way it. I don't know about today, but well, at least in the 90s, that's the way it was.
Yeah, I joined in 2002, and from that point on, and it was probably late 90s, because it was probably a lot of people started pointing it out, and it was like, no, motherfuckers, that is not legal. Idea box, there it is.
Because I was in the '90s is when I first started going to group counseling for PTSD, and we had a few guys in group that were retirees and were also receiving comp and pen, and we were all poking them in the ribs for that, saying, "Hey, you're getting your retirement play plus your comp and pen," and yada yada yada. And I said, "Nope, nope. For every dollar I get with one, they take $1 from the other." So.
Well, I started getting military disability benefits about 2 years ago. I get £70 a week, which I thought was going to be great until they told me that they would then take £60 a week off my existing non-military disability benefit.
Well, wasn't that great?
Yeah.
Mm. But so, okay, Bo, for this bit, starting to read it, the bigger issue here, there, that has led to that is the VA is technically underfunded, and they have actually shifted their priority to paying the comp and pen benefits and the education benefits versus maintaining a proper staff at their facilities. So in order to get bumped up in priority for appointments and everything, sometimes, yeah, you have to feign drastic measures to show that you are at higher risk and higher need.
Speaking from a country where I don't have any issues in that matter because we have an actual health system, taxpayer funded. I take issue with you saying, technically speaking, it's underfunded. If it's either underfunded or it isn't. I mean, if they don't have the budget to staff for sufficient amount of staff, first of all, they're underfunded. No. If they don't have enough money to go around for where you have people having more or less to fight trying to get treatment, something at the very minimum is wrong.
Well, here is why I said technically, is because they have the cash flow, they have the funds to hire people to fill all the positions. The problem is that they cannot, they cannot offer a competitive wage to keep the people in the medical fields employed at their facilities. It's a competition thing. And
okay, yeah. And we had we have private hospital. Not exactly, but yeah, private hospitals where, doctors get paid a lot, but still, we don't have any issues in that department. That I can understand.
Yeah,
it's actually a little bit even worse than that. It not only is the pay not competitive, but neither is the work environment. VA employees are treated almost as badly as the vets themselves. I had a kick-ass doctor in the VA. I was one of the lucky ones, and I had her for a number of years, and then I showed up at the VA one time, and she was gone. I got assigned somebody else, and I asked what the hell happened, and she said she'd had it. She had had enough of the mostly what she was pissed at. She was doubly pissed. She was pissed that the VA wasn't treating the vets that she was treating, that she had under her care, with enough respect, basically. Mm-hmm. But every time she tried to get something done for the vets under her care, that she was having to jump through hoops as well, and she'd had enough. And so she quit the VA and she went to a civilian hospital right next door, and became a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I mean, I can imagine it's a difficult thing where you have to fight to get doctors. But I mean, again, I have have a problem because I don't know how exactly it works in the U.S. I mean, in Denmark, if that was an issue, it would be relatively easy for the government to, put it into law that if you're in medicine, I mean, if you're going to be a doctor, any type of doctor or a nurse or a surgeon or anything like that, then you have to serve, as a what do you call it? As a trainee, or what do you call it?
The internship.
In relation to your an internship, you have to have an internship, and you have to do it where it's needed, at a VS office, for example. But I guess that's not not something you can do here. I mean, schools that produces doctors and nurses and all that, are they private schools?
Both.
Or are they government funded?
Both. It's actually split funding. So
okay, so they could technically put into law, I guess.
Not necessarily, because the whole thing about the U.S. and its government structure is, for the staunch people, the hardline fundamentalists of the Constitution and everything, the whole point was to have as minimal a government as possible. The federal government is there. That is the mentality. And it's business is business, government is government, and the two should only interact when absolutely necessary.
Yeah, and even when that happens, it sometimes becomes a war.
Well, I think the biggest
in paper.
I think the biggest problem we've got with our government in getting things done is the sheer level of bureaucracy, because it's
ridiculous.
And if let's say somebody actually realizes that we've got too much bureaucracy that's slowing something up. Well, let's add yet another layer of bureaucracy in there to monitor those other subordinate layers of bureaucracy. Everything the government does winds up having the opposite effect of what they try to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
It's ludicrous.
Yeah, I mean, it's, as I always say, the USA is the United Divided States. It might as well, under some circumstances, it might as well be just 50 countries instead of.
That's kind of that division is also part of the issue with running something like the VA. Is there are people out there that want to make sure that the veterans, especially those that are combat vets coming back, get the treatment that they need and not have to jump through the hoops that the VA is in place. And it's not even so much the way Jared's explaining it, where it's people think that the government and private business don't need to mix. Is it that you actually have nowadays, you actually have people in office that don't support the military the way that we used to 20, 30, even 40 years ago. And even then, it wasn't the greatest.
It just sounds funny because, I mean, if there's one thing that Americans, certainly from outsiders, people that don't live in the States, something that Americans do tend to, what do you call it? That you guys look to be is very, very patriotic. I mean, it's almost legal in the eyes of the citizens to not have the American flag outside your house if you live in a bungalow or something. So the idea of some politicians not having doing the patriotic taking the patriotic angle and use it for their political gains to just say, oh, we support the people who served our country and blah blah blah. It's just strange to me.
Well, it's really that there are those that are vehemently opposed to any type of war, any type of action at all by the military, and some of them really could care less about the veterans out there. I'm not talking just at a federal level. I'm talking at a state level as well.
Aren't they mixed across the parties? I mean, it's not specifically on the right.
Yes.
It's both, but is it equal? somewhat, or
It's not. It's not. I wouldn't say it's necessarily equal. It's just that the people who are opposed to veterans. I mean, I live in a very very progressive. I'm not even gonna go liberal. Progressive area of Washington, to where if it's known that I am a veteran to some of the my customers, they spit. They won't spit at me, but if they could, they would. They would actually. They're very disrespectful to me because they have no respect for the military at all. And then the politicians in the area that we try to talk to, because I got several homeless vets in my area that I want to get help for, that they've burned their bridges with DAV and other veterans groups. That the politicians are just like, well, screw them, fuck them. Nobody cares.
At the same time, you have a lot of. At the same time, you also have a lot of you have people that hate the military. You have people that claim to support the military, because they'll be the first to wave the flag. They'll be the first to do all sorts of this stuff. But when it actually comes to helping veterans, it doesn't evaporate. It's gone.
Yep.
But as you were saying this, it sounded like you were talking about millennials.
That's not just millennials.
No. But it sounded like you were talking exclusively about those overprivileged kids that have wealthy parents and supports the terrorist organization called Black Lives Matter. I mean,
no, I got
sort of
I got out of the service in '93, and I think this was in '96 or '97. So this is even before millennials. This was I don't remember if she was a congressman or a senator or just what she was, but she was a politician in Washington, and I remember her complaining about Marines, which is why it stuck out in my head, about Marines being too aggressive, and in addition to all her other complaints, she also thought the checkerboard uniforms were ugly.
Okay, many different types of uniforms are ugly, but what's
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, she has what checkerboard uniforms are you fucking talking about? She had not a goddamn clue as to what the hell she was talking about, but it had more to do with who she was talking to. She was pandering. Yeah, there's always been an element, and probably always will be an element, that is very anti-military. Always has been. It's not just millennials. It's been there for a long, long time.
And I think I don't know her name, but I think I know who you're talking about, because it was right around the time that the news was really publicizing some of the stupid things that stupid Marines were doing in Japan, like
Okinawa.
raping girls. Yeah,
it might have been around then. But yeah, she was real quick to stereotype us, real quick too.
and she wasn't too far behind on sailors as well, because she's like, well, they're part of the Department of the Navy, so the sailors must be just as bad. And my cousin, who was in the Navy at the time as a corpsman, felt much the same way you did.
Yeah. I wish I could remember who the hell that was. I've been looking for that quote, and I can't find it. I know it's got to be out there somewhere. No, there's, like it's already been said, there are politicians will flip the script depending on who the hell they're talking to.
No.
Yeah, I know it's a shock to everybody. Oh my God.
Whatever gets their vote.
Again,
Yeah, exactly.
Again, it's in the politician manual. So
Yeah.
of course, if you want to get on their side, especially if it's a journalist in a specific field, it's a smart thing to cater to that person in terms of what you say and how you say it.
Mm-hmm.
So that alone isn't a bad thing, but
No,
still.
well, politics in general simply means getting somebody to think your way. That's all it really means. And so, you know, we, all of us politic a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But, you know, we only do so as necessary. You know, when you're trying to talk to somebody to, you know,
Well,
I don't know.
I know exactly what you mean. Myself, I hate politics. I hate it with a passion. But just seeing two of my friends arguing, having a heated argument, and I can see that one of them is starting to clench his fists, starting to want to fight. That's a usual cue for me to start, trying to get them to calm down. That is politics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Many other ways of doing it. I mean, politics is everywhere. You cannot exist without politics, whether you call it politics or not. Even chimpanzees have politics in terms of what is fair and what is not fair.
Yeah, politics really is at the core of democracy. It's how you communicate and how you are able to then rationally manipulate someone into doing something that they were not initially considering. Some people go as far to say that the best politics, the best show of democracy, of diplomacy, is to get someone to agree to do something that is counter to their best interests.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically what being in the military is.
Well, yeah. Hey, in the military, you're not there to do what you want. You're there to do what's needed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not a team player, you have no place in there. If you're at least not if you're a grunt or on the lowest part of the totem pole. If you're not willing to be a team player, get out of here. I mean, that's the basics.
And that's kind of one of the. And I don't really want to call it a bragging point with the Marine Corps, but it's one of the things that sets Marines apart from the rest of the branches, is that when you enlist in the Marine Corps, unlike the rest of the branches of the service, the Marine Corps does not promise you jack shit. They don't promise you an MOS. They don't promise you college money. They don't promise you a fucking thing. You get the GI Bill, which is mandated by law, and that is it. Nobody joins the Marine Corps. Yeah, nobody joins the Marine Corps to learn a skill that they can use, when they get out of the service.
The GI Bill is basically a college fund that you pay $100 a month for your first year, and then you get X amount when you get out.
Yeah, and you can use that for college, and that's mandated by law that all branches of the service promise that. But that's the only thing tangible that the Marine Corps will offer you. Nobody joins the Marine Corps unless they want to serve, or unless they're a complete fucking moron.
Mm-hmm. Well, in relation to the documentary, we talked about it either last Friday or the Friday before that. I talked about the documentary about the Marine Corps boot camp on Parris Island. That boot camping, the way they do it there, the way they treat people, they just knock them into the ground and build them up. Is that how is it done in other branches? Is it the same kind of? I don't want to say gung ho, but is it the same type of? You're nothing to me. You're worth nothing, but I'm going to build you.
So across the entire U.S. military, all branches, when it comes to basic training, do have a fundamental mantra from the beginning. We are going to strip you down and then rebuild you as best as possible for what the service needs. Because when you're joining, it's not about you. I would even go as far to say it's not even about what the populace of the nation needs. It's what the defense of the nation needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, technically speaking, because the United States is more or less the police of the world. That's what they think.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
That thing. But I get what you mean. But just that type of I won't say education, but training, basis for training, is something that at least the Danish army left behind many years ago. I mean, when I was there, it was only a couple of years after they stopped, treating people like shit. Or in other words, what do you call it? Where you have to be formal all the time and say, "Yeah, sir, yes, sir," that type of thing. Not as strict as you see it in these U.S. Marine Corps boot camp documentaries. But
the Marines do take
it just
that.
isn't done that much.
Well, the Marines do take that to an extreme, as in having that regimented sort of mantra for interactions for a longer amount of time. In the naval boot camp, the first 3-4 weeks really is that strict, that hard, because what the drill instructors, what the RDCs are trying to instill in the recruits is not just the basic fundamentals and the basic military knowledge of the branch that they need, but also one thing in particular: attention to detail. Because you can miss one little thing in a combat situation and it lead to not just you being dead, but everyone around you and possibly your entire ship.
Yeah, I mean,
and that does make sense. But...
I shared a meme earlier that was basically saying, "Oh, you went to Navy boot camp. You could teach me how to fold my underwear then." And that's really what it is. There's this. If you were even a millimeter off on the way you folded your skivvies, your entire barracks was destroyed, and you all had to start all over. Or even worse, somebody else fixed yours really quick, then the RDCs would destroy the rest of it, and you just had to stand there and let everybody else had to refold all their stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's exactly right. It's about attention. Attention to the details will kill you. And that's especially true in the Navy and the Air Force.
Did you go out the windows much?
What was that again?
Did your equipment go out of the windows much? Our DIs
good times.
Our DIs like inverting beds and throwing shit out the windows.
No, they did that quite a bit.
Yep.
Bed pack out the window.
Yep.
In November, when it's pissing with rain.
See, talking about boot camp, how long was boot camp for all of us?
6 weeks for me.
Couple days over 8 weeks.
Yeah.
13.
Okay. It's different now because conscription in Denmark is only 4 months, but back in the good old days, so to speak, boot camp was 3 months, and then you go into the specialist training.
Well, so for the Army and Marines, I think the Marines are 12-13 week boot camp and then advanced infantry training on top of that.
Well, actually, yeah, they have a. When I went through, it was a 13-week boot camp, and then you went to your MOS school. When I was in, they instituted an additional, after the 13-week boot camp, an additional 4 weeks of advanced infantry training, AIT, and then you go to your MOS school. So, and if you had the dubious honor of going infantry after AIT, then you had even more infantry training after that. So yeah, effectively boot camp in the Marine Corps now officially is 13 weeks, but effectively is 16 weeks.
Okay, so in the different branches, it was taught John earlier, but there isn't any training or part of the education. Let's just call it that instead. That could technically be used outside the system. For example, everybody is taught first aid and advanced or extended first aid. That's an obvious one, right? But apart from that, no extra skill sets that was taught anywhere.
So
That doesn't necessarily have to do with military tactics and so on.
So from Navy basic training, you really don't have much of anything that you could really ethically mark as a skill for job purposes afterwards, because we do get basic firefighter training, which does give you a good foundation, but you don't really get into that until you actually go through your NEC school if you are either subfleet or are a damage controlman, or when you get to your ship and do hands-on training there to be part of a repair locker and part of a hose team. So the basic training that the Navy gives in boot for a lot of those things, handling the lines of a ship to both pull in and leave port, firefighter training, even the bit of first aid that we cover, it is all just very high level general bits to get you familiar with it. And then if you need further actual advanced first aid training like I got, or the advanced firefighting training, it was all dependent on your rate and or your assignment when you get to your ship.
Yeah, so basic was basic, really.
Yeah, because I'm sure it was pretty similar for you, Tech, when you went to BESS, but we did 2 weeks of damage control. 1 week was firefighting, 1 week was a wet trainer.
Yeah.
And because on the submarine we have nobody to rely on but ourselves, but on an aircraft carrier like Jared was on, they have an entire division that leads the damage control efforts, and then the other watchstanders help out.
City.
Yeah, we would do some stuff. Yeah, that was kind of like some stuff basically to kind of give us some of the similar knowledge that a DC would have. So. Yeah, but I mean, I did it while up in Groton, though. My firefighting and damage control was disconnected from my BESS, because I graduated BESS, then later did it because the damage control and firefighting was done at the end. So yeah. I had done the damage control and firefighting after I'd already completed my A school, my 2C school.
Yeah, I had the luxury of doing both the firefighter and wet trainer in the first part of January.
That sounds bad.
Mine was done in late April, so it was
cold, but not as cold.
Yeah, it was late April in Connecticut, so it wasn't warm.
Well, yeah. It's funny you guys mentioning that, because wait,
it wasn't freezing cold. So.
Here's the thing. I lived in that area of Connecticut from 87, well, late 86 until the end of 99.
Oh, so you were probably there when I was there.
Yeah, you were up in that area when I was going through something.
Yeah. I was living right outside of Norwich, Connecticut when that took place. And actually, and here's the funny thing. My dad was an instructor at the sub school twice in the time that we were living there. So you probably saw you guys going around the school.
Oh, he might have.
Was he actually BESS or was he officer sub school?
He was a chief, so in his time at the sub school, he did both.
I could have theoretically seen him, so
I might have seen him. But yeah, no, when it comes to the damage control, the only thing that most of the older guys before me could lay claim to that I didn't get a chance to do was the tower for the escape training.
The escape trunk, yeah, I've heard about that.
Oh yeah, no
escape trunk training still, right?
Well, we did do it, but it was so stupid.
What did you all do?
So when we get into was basically, instead of going straight up, you climb into the mock LUT, and then it's a hatch on the side.
Oh, so you were doing
go through.
That was the ones they used on the Sturgeon.
Yeah.
Side escape on the Sturgeons.
Yeah, but as soon as you go out, because it's literally the top of the escape hatch, it is in the pool is literally like 6 inches from the water line of the pool.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So but it was still Stinky Hoods and not the full outfits that they're getting now. So
yeah, they had those when I was in, and this tower was just going out. But yeah, they had done the side ones because that's actually how the old Sturgeon class escape trunks were done side. So they had built that one. I think it was silly because they had built that one on the Sturgeon, and then of course the Los Angeles and later came out, and you're going back straight up again. So it's like, what? Fuck.
Yeah.
You're technically learning an escape trunk that doesn't even exist on any boats that are currently in service.
Yeah, well, apparently they've reopened up the tower up there, so.
Oh, well, that's good.
I guess they rebuilt it and reopened
Probably
it.
not the same one because they were going to tear it down. They were going to be tearing it down, so it's probably a different one.
Yeah.
Which the tower was old, and I mean old.
Yeah.
No, this was training for what again?
Escaping the submarine.
Yeah, escape trunk training.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In other words,
you can actually-
ejaculating the crew.
Yeah. If you happen to, sink in quote unquote shallow water, there's a way you can escape from the submarine.
Yeah, and on the West Coast, there isn't much of that.
Yeah, when I'm using shallow water, I'm talking about like what pretty much around 300-400 feet.
Yeah.
Now, most of the time, you're not going to be operating that, so it's kind of semi-pointless. But
Well, I wonder. Now, how much truth was there to them shutting down the big tower because of injuries to trainees?
I don't know.
I don't know, to be honest. I just know that's the rumors that I heard too.
Yeah, because it is an active thing where you have to breathe out as you're going up, or you just off the height, it gets you into that principle. Otherwise, you will injure yourself.
Yeah.
Yep.
Due to the water pressure.
Yep. Well,
Nitrogen.
the nitrogen poisoning potential, but also just the way the gases expand as you go up and reduce that pressure. So you have to breathe out, and you can actually end up continuously breathing out without taking a breath in because of that expansion.
Yeah, when you're going up, you can breathe out the entire time because as you're going up, the air in your lungs is expanding.
Yep.
Yeah, it also helps with your not unconscious, your subconscious desire to breathe in. If you or breathe, sorry. Try to breathe after an extended period of time, unless you. I mean, if you just, I mean, when you come up, ascend, you don't exactly exhale. You just let it go, basically.
Oh, yeah, you're not necessarily
type of step.
exhaling the whole time. What you're doing when you're going up, you're going ho 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 ho, but you're not having to breathe. Yeah.
They actually changed that since you and I went
did
as
they?
well. Yeah, they're actually now just doing a constant ho.
Yeah.
Like the old
ho ho ho.
What? Yeah, what was it? There's an old cartoon. I want to say it's like He-Man or G.I. Joe, where they yell ho, and it's just like a long term, like
Thundercats.
Oh,
yeah, Thundercats.
Yo ho ho and a bottle of rum.
But yeah,
I'm just thinking of the psychology of it. If you're taught to, if you're trained to, for example, make a certain sound or whatever, it's less likely for you to accidentally do something stupid in terms of actively exhaling, trying to get some oxygen in.
You're not. I mean, this is all about exhaling because you're the air in your lungs. You're not gonna
and avoiding to not blow up your lungs.
Yeah, you don't really have to work. It's not an issue where you have to worry about breathing in. You're not like you're wearing a whole hood. Like the thing you wear, the escape thing is almost like inflated floating device with a hood, and then it has like a valve in the front of it. So.
Yep.
So when you're actually escaping, you're closing. You're basically taking a breath. You're closing this valve, and then you're doing the escape, and then you're breathing out as you go up. The valve that you close, it allows air in or out, but when it's closed, it only allows it out.
Oh,
Nifty. But
I
it
wasn't aware of that.
is 10 to midnight, so we do have to wrap this up. That way we can all take a breath, reload the alcohol, and get ready for movie night. So
And
for every
get ready to ear rape.
I saw the menu.
Check out the menu.
I saw the menu. Holy shit, is it going to be an interesting one? And for anyone out there still watching, if you are in the US, as you can see on the screen, don't forget, Tuesday, make your voices heard. And with that, we are going to see all of you next week.